Well, happy Monday, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. Well, welcome in. Good to have you with us here on, what is Monday, September 11th. I didn't really realize that until yesterday. I went, September 11th, tomorrow. You'll be live on the radio. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl. He's our executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning.
And to my left is Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor. And, we kind of realized about 10 minutes ago, big day in American history, certainly. 22 years ago today, we're all, Ben and I, the same age, probably remember very well. Paulie knows exactly where he was 22 years ago, and I'm sure everybody listening does as well. Honestly, one of the more surreal days I think we've ever had in this country, and one that I experienced and, touched by, and had one of my dear relatives down in the area, had one of my best friends in the area. I've told you guys that story before. He worked on Wall Street and, fully covered in soot and ash and had to hitchhike out. And then, he had to ferry out and then hitchhike back to Connecticut, about a 15, 16-hour day, but he's still alive to tell the tale. And so many weren't. So obviously wanted to come on and, just kind of let everybody know we're also thinking about that horrible day. Certainly not going to do a 4-hour tribute to it or anything like that, but certainly wanted to give it a mention as one of the most important historical days I can remember.
Yeah, it's amazing to look back and think about how different our lives were 22 years ago.
No doubt.
I didn't have kids yet, wasn't married yet, and things that have changed since then. And now, I remember I was working at the time doing Padres pre- and post-game show hosting, and strangely enough, they were completely out of it by that point of the season in September.
That's super duper
But
weird.
we were ramping up because it was the last month of Tony Gwynn's career. He was getting set to retire in 2001, and all the celebrations. He wasn't playing on an everyday basis, but he'd come in and pinch hit every day or two, just once, get that at bat, get the huge ovation, and all of a sudden it's a Tuesday morning, and the planes hit and the world just shuts down and don't even know what's going on. I mean, they of course canceled sporting events for pretty much the rest of the week, all the NFL games, all the baseball games. So I was just kind of sitting in limbo with nothing to do for several days until they decided what was going to happen, and they extended the baseball season by a week. They tacked on a week at the end of the football season, kind of made it up later. It wasn't really that important at the time, but it's why when you look back in October of 2001, you've got regular season games going into, like October. I think October 7th or 8th was like Tony's last game, because they had to add that week of games at the end of the season.
And the World Series was in November. Yeah. They had some games in November.
Yeah, Mr. November.
Mr. November, Jeter. Yeah, it was. And you remember at that time. You remember how sports did not matter for a few weeks, and then you remember just why sports are
just
fantastic.
How much
yeah, then you remember just how great sports are. When you watch like the World Series that year, it was just unbelievable. People coming together. You saw a lot of. You didn't see a whole lot of division, which you do now. A lot. I spent some time on Twitter yesterday. It literally leaves me hopeless. I feel hopeless. Not even like a glimmer of hope. I'm like, there's no fixing this, man. There's just not. I mean, you can't. Nobody agrees on anything anymore, and you hated that something like that happened, but man, at the time you did feel a very a big sense of patriotism and love for your fellow man. It'd be nice to get back to that at some point. It would
without the horrific tragedy,
that came with it. That's just kind of how I feel in my heart about it, man. But we did bring up an interesting thing that popped into my head, and I reminded Paulie. I said, "Hey, make sure," because we have about 200 songs loaded into the computer. And I said, out of respect, let's make sure that there's nothing suggestive today, right? About, I don't know. I mean, when I was in radio at the time. I wasn't on the radio, but I sold radio at the time in Dallas. And I remember it's the infamous Clear Channel memorandum. And it came out. It was an internal memo that went around from program director to program director. I don't know if you guys have heard this story before, but they sent a list of a bunch of songs to all of the PDs around the country. And it wasn't these are banned. These are banned, do not play them. It was hey, we've done some research. Avoid these today if you can. Okay? Just avoid these. If somebody may be driving, and I don't know, it was weird. Were any PDs really like, all right, this is awful, but keep the tunes going. Let's make sure we got to get 40 songs this hour. Like, everything shut down. Everything went straight news. But I think maybe in the days to come, they wanted to ban or suggest, let's not play some of these. I mean, obviously some Beastie Boys, Sabotage. The Beatles had a few on there. Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot.
Really?
Yes. Blue Oyster Cult, Burning for You, The Cult, Firewoman. They banned Rage Against the Machine's entire catalog, by the way. That one was banned. No Rage Against the Machine songs whatsoever. Let's see. Queen, Another One Bites the Dust.
It reminds me how sensitive, and it felt like we were always going to be, like we would never recover kind of emotionally from it. Like the idea of watching a television show about like a plane, like Hijack, that we we're talking about on Crossing Streams recently, and I watched it. The thought of that coming on in the next 5 years after 9/11 would be unimaginable. That no one would want to watch that at that point. And it is amazing how time, while it doesn't lessen the tragedy at all, it does. No matter what, it changes all of our perspective. That buffer of time gives us, just some perspective and history on what happened since and what that day was really all about and how it did change our country in unimaginable ways. I mean, good, bad, a lot of different ways, but we didn't know at the time exactly what direction we were all heading.
No question. Scott says he was listening to Stern when it happened. Surreal show. Some of the best radio you'll ever hear.
I've gone back and listened to that entire show.
It's pretty
several times.
Pretty amazing what they were able to do. And they stayed there in New York that day, and it's just stayed on the air, and it was unbelievable, man. Unbelievable day. So yeah, obviously want to offer our. You never get over that. You never get over it. Offer our condolences to anybody affected by that horrific day. I think we all were in some way. But yeah, man, I remember freaking out. My Aunt Kathy was she lived in Manhattan for years and was a paralegal. So she spent her life down in that area all the time. I mean, it was like, all right, I got to grab my stuff. I got to go down there that morning. Then I'll take the subway back. She was down there every day. And I remember we couldn't get in touch with her for a couple of days. And it was a pretty panic-inducing feeling. So many people lost their lives down there. And
no social media, no Facebook to at least post, hey, I'm okay.
Barely. I think, no BS, Paulie. I think I had just gotten my first cell phone. And I mean, and I remembered it was a gold Nokia. And I was like, this is the best thing and the worst thing that ever happened to me. But I mean, I had just gotten it. Yeah, so they're texting and all that stuff was all fairly new at that point. But, man, you couldn't get in touch with anybody. So, that's where we are today. Now, we've got a bunch to talk about, obviously, and talk about the weekend that was. How did you guys have a good weekend outside of, some of the sports?
Well, yeah, I mean, for San Diego sports fans, it was a miserable weekend. But I think sports fans in general, it's good to have full Saturday college football, Sunday NFL football back. I mean,
Scott Hansen, you beautiful, beautiful
Scott
man.
Hansen's a talented man.
So the last couple of years I've been out on Red Zone because we didn't have the right package. Whatever we had didn't have Red Zone, but we were back this year because we switched.
Got it.
And it was amazing to sit down at 10 a.m.
There is no
lock
comparison.
in. It was great.
There's
was really
no. I
good.
mean, unless you have a team and you're going to watch that game and that game only, start to finish, every snap, there is nothing like Red Zone. I wish college football had a Red Zone. I wish every other sport had.
Major League Baseball tries this weird.
They've tried
They try this weird. You guys have tuned into MLB Network at
whip around coverage,
but it's
or whatever.
Four games in one, and you sit there and you're like, I can't focus. I can't focus. I can't focus. I can't focus.
I appreciate the effort.
I like the effort.
I feel like there's something there. They can figure it out. But Red Zone, my God.
It's so good.
It just doesn't work because in football, every 40 seconds there's a play. And that is all that needs to be shown, really, that 8 seconds or whatever of the play, and then you can switch somewhere else. With baseball, an at-bat can last 4 minutes before there's any action.
Right.
So you can't really whip around. Foul ball. Oh, it's the 9th pitch of the
All
at-bat.
right, let's go
Foul
back to
ball.
Yankees, Rays.
Yeah, I mean,
pitch outside.
Let's
go back to
exactly.
Red Sox.
Oh,
Orioles.
that ball's in the dirt. Yeah,
Foul ball.
It's terrible. It's called big inning. Yeah, there's another thing they do too, and I love CC Sabathia. I love him. I think he's one of my dream guests on Ben and Woods. I'd love to sit and talk baseball with CC. But they do a thing where they go into a game and it's him, and I want to say it's Chris Young, the baseball player, I think he was a former Diamondback, and then there's a female host, and they sit like in a row, and they just comment on the game. Oh, that's a good pitch. Oh, yeah. What was that, slider? Yeah, look at that slider. He threw me a slider once I hit it. It was cool. And it's like, you're just sitting there, you're like, let's go. Like you're making a pretty boring game 10 times worse, guys. So I don't know, man. I just like to watch the game. Just put the game on, and unless it's the San Diego Padres, then I try to avoid those games.
Speaking
like
of
the plague.
Padres, MLB Network right now is looking back at the season that was, and they're doing things Mark DeRosa whiffed on this season, his preseason predictions, and the number one item on his list is that the Padres will win the World Series.
Yeah, that's I think a lot.
It wasn't just us, though, guys.
I think a lot of people missed that one. Missed that one, certainly. And we will certainly talk Padres today. There's a lot to cover in the wide world of sports that was this week. And I got a chance to watch a lot of college football on Saturday. There was a lightning delay for my favorite team.
That's right.
And I had to go watch Bo play soccer. And so I was like, what time's the game? I'm like, oh, God, it's right in the middle. And then the delay happened, and I was like,
this is great.
Yes. I went to the gate, and I told Hannah, I go, I'm driving separately. She goes, why? I go, because I don't want to play grab ass after the game. I want to get it. Okay, great job. Okay, awesome. Get in the car and come home. Also happens to be my job. This is going to work. I'm sorry. We have this argument at least 3 times a week. So I race home, sit down. I'm like, you beautiful bastards. Delayed this thing by like an hour and a half. It was perfect.
It just dawned on me, Paulie. He's got a little extra vim. He's got a little extra pep in his step this morning, and I just realized why. He's at the start of a 2-day work week.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
Oh, I am. He's
going to Chicago on Wednesday, South Bend this weekend with Bo, going with your dad on your trip to Notre Dame. So it's a lot easier to get up at early on Monday morning, knowing you're already halfway through your work week after today.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no wonder you're in such a good mood.
But based on the amount of grief I'm getting for going, I don't know. I'm really back and forth. It's my wife's birthday on Friday, and I'll be out of town, so she's not pleased.
It's my birthday on Thursday.
And your
You'll be
birthday's
out of
on
town.
Thursday. Yeah.
F you.
Yeah. See, and it's just
I'm with Hannah.
It's here we go. It's the point.
Have fun, buddy.
It's the point I made yesterday to her. I'm not going on a golf trip with my boys. Like when I'm not. Oh man, sucks that it's your birthday, but we've had this guy's trip planned. It is a guy's trip, but it's also. In my family, when you turn 5, you get to go to your first Notre Dame game. That's it's a rite of passage, if you will. Bo, this is his year of being 5. That's the game we could get tickets to. I'm sorry that it happens to fall on your birthday. So we've been arguing about it for months, and I'm like, should I just cancel?
I stand with Hannah.
Yeah, everybody does usually. So
I'm actually on Team Woods on
this
one.
I can't. We can sell. There's a bunch of other days we can celebrate it. We're adults, so it's fine.
It doesn't make it any less uncomfortable at home.
No, it's not been comfortable. I'll tell you that right now.
Speaking of uncomfortable,
really
baseball
fun.
Watching was uncomfortable. Really, all sports watching.
Super fun.
When the highlight of my weekend is the Dolphins pulling out a win over the Chargers, it really wasn't.
So hate watching
one game was about all I had this weekend. My Survivor pick, like Woods' went down in flames in week 1. Paulie, we nearly all lost our Survivor picks the first week of the season. We nearly all, the pool was nearly over before it even got started.
Like mine sucked because it came on the first game, but yours was still the first week. So
it was
just 72 hours different.
And then me Michael and Adam all picked the same team, the Washington Commanders.
Oh, my
so
God.
had they lost,
Had they
and
lost?
then Seattle lost, the whole league, all 5 of us would have been out on week 1, which would have been amazing.
So
It
you
would've
guys
been
ended up
over.
playing for all the marbles thanks to your Commanders pick, which was they barely escaped over what was thought to be the worst team in football.
Never sweated.
The Arizona Cardinals. We'll talk about the NFL. We'll talk about college football. The Aztecs just brutal performance against UCLA on Saturday. It was ugly. I'm sure we'll mention Dion's Colorado Buffaloes because why not? They're one of the most fun stories in sports right now. And we'll get in. I thought yesterday a turning point. The final turning point for the Padres this season.
How many turning points can one team
This
have?
is the final one.
This is
that
it.
I saw. Yeah, this is this. We're entering the end stage, as it were, of the Padres season now.
This is like last rites
Yeah,
type deal?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Get your make your final visits, say your goodbyes
Yeah.
to the 2023 season. We're at the end. We will talk about it all coming up. Padres wrap up. Mostly, though, we're going to try to keep it, like we do.
Yeah.
A good start to the week for everybody. Paulie's got are you keeping the theme or are you getting a new theme
We'll
this
find
week?
out.
I guess we'll find out on the
I
Daily
like
Ditty.
that.
When we come back, glad to have everybody with us. It is Ben and Woods on a Monday morning on San Diego's #1 sports station. Let's check traffic right now with Kelly here on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
This is the first.
That is the first. The double
Just keep it rolling.
ditty. Yeah.
Hey, pretty lady, won't you give me a sign?
90s country, man.
This is there's like so many different subgenres of country music,
Yeah.
90s country music. There's, the love songs. There's the serious, emotional, tells a really good story. And then there's like the hokey.
No one's
I'm
picked
about to beat my
Shania
heart
Twain yet.
good.
No.
She's kind of the quintessential
She's in there. Well, there's about
90s country
there's
star.
We still got 3 days.
I
left
know.
this
I just was wondering. I mean, how you guys felt about Shania?
She's
Love her.
fantastic.
Okay.
There's about 14 quintessentials, though. I mean, really, there's Garth, and there's George Strait, and there's Shania, there's Trisha Yearwood, there's the Judds. I mean, it literally, that genre, and there are people rolling their eyes right now. That was the hottest, and I know country music is huge now. Huge. But it was
It's different.
It's different. It's different. We lost a country music legend over the weekend. Give me a quick shout out to his family. I don't know if you guys know Charlie Robinson, but he is a Texas legend. He was married to one of the Dixie Chicks, as it were. Passed away, 59 years old. One of the best storytellers you have ever heard. He has a song called Loving County that is unbelievable. My hometown's a huge hit for him. Texas legend, where I come from. I've seen him many, many times. So, yeah, he passed away over the weekend at 59. I was bummed to hear about that.
Shout out to his family.
Thank you, Paulie. I appreciate that. Makes me feel a little bit better. And I'm sure his family as well.
It's Monday. We have our usual Monday guests coming up. Jake Mintz from Cespedes Family Barbecue wanted to let everybody know Sam Levitt will be with us at 9:35.
Sammy.
Tough weekend. Sammy. I caught Sammy in a rare mistake this weekend and had to text him during his pregame show. But
Why
I
did
don't
you do that?
I don't think it's his fault.
Leave him alone.
I don't think it's his fault.
What if he texted you every time you made a mistake?
I didn't know. I knew he'd want to know this one.
It wasn't a flub.
Hey,
It wasn't
man,
a.
it
It wasn't, no. It wasn't a flub. It was. Well, actually, it's just one of the weird stories from the weekend.
Why don't you save it?
Okay.
And let me ask Sammy.
That's fine. All right.
I'm going to pit you two against each other.
No,
All right.
I-
We'll do that at 9:30.
It was just looking out for Sammy
Okay,
in his
good.
best interest. It wasn't a gotcha on sort of thing. It was like, hey, you probably would like to know so you don't continue to make this error in the future. Because it was actually a very weird story from the Padres over the weekend. We can hold on to that one for a little while. All guests on Bennett Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet. Find new roads.
It almost feels weird to me. Like, we're going to come back here in a couple minutes. We'll take a break in about 3 minutes. Then we'll come back and we'll play the wrap up from another just mortifying, embarrassing game. But as far as the very small cross section of Padre fans on Twitter, because you have to remember there's still a legion of Padre fans out there in the community that aren't on social media. I saw a general waning of interest massively this weekend, and my hand is raised. I had a bunch of stuff to do. Also was coaching and going to games, and there were better options on. There were better options on than the San Diego Padres getting bodied by the Houston Astros. And
You saw the lineup that came out.
Well, and
the
that-
lineup gets announced at or whatever. I'm watching Red Zone from 10, and then the first pitch at 11:10. It was 11:30 before I even realized. Oh wait, the Padres.
are on. And the other thing
Still
too
didn't flip over.
is like you say, a couple of guys out, and then there's a couple of guys where you're like, This, to me, the very layman, I'm such a layman as it pertains to this, running a baseball team. But to me, I don't necessarily need to see Matt Carpenter grabbing ABs. That could be given to maybe somebody that's a part of the actual future of this team. So it wasn't a thing where I was like, I'm protesting watching the game. There were way better options for me. And I think a lot of fans felt that way too. And you are seeing last year at this time, you guys, we could not talk football. We would mention football and people would murder us online. Murder. They would get so mad. If we did a Colorado Buffalo segment last year at this time, our Twitter would go crazy. Shut up, man, Padre. And now people are
We
like,
were even like,
good.
should we even don't do this?
100%. It was 4 hours of Padres talk because this team was on a run.
Yeah, I think now you look for specific stories if you're going to be watching the rest of the year, and I'm sure I still will be generally. Like today, it's Pedro Avila will be on the mound against the Dodgers. He's actually someone that is possibly part of the Padres' future. Still pitching with purpose and trying to make a good impression for next year's starting rotation. Obviously, the remaining Blake Snell starts still seem to be somewhat important as he fights for a Cy Young award. But like yesterday's game, with Manny and Tatis both sitting. You could look and say, hey, Eggy Rosario's getting a shot. He hit his first career home run, and that's something. But in terms of Waldron on the mound and Hill coming in after that, it was very much a turning point, I thought, where the Padres were going, okay, now what's most important is that we try to get guys healthy going into next season, and we know that we're not going to be able to make this run that we were hoping we were going to make all year long. And now it's about, individual moments and maybe seeing some guys, although I don't anticipate a big influx of call-ups because they're, going to be participating in the minor league playoffs over the next week or two and don't see a lot of guys coming up. So it's basically, all right.
This is where we're at.
Evaluate what went wrong. Let's see if we can get as many people healthy and, ready to go for next season as possible. And we'll look at some pitchers and we'll cheer for Blake and see if he can win a Cy Young Award. But that's what these last couple of weeks of the year are basically going to be centered on.
No question.
All right, let's take a time out. We'll come back. Quick Padres, a wrap-up of yesterday's game. Wasn't much of a game, to be honest. There was a lot better sports going on yesterday. Friday's game was very Padres.
Friday's game was fun.
Of course.
That was a fun one. I
very
watched
fun
all of
and
that
very
one.
Padres. That one's no problem with Blake on the mound and a big 11-2 win. But we all knew what was going to happen likely the next couple of days, and it did. This team is so unpredictably predictable. It's almost crazy.
It's nuts.
That how can you be so unpredictable in your predictability or predictable,
predictable
in your unpredictability?
unpredictability.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, we'll come back with more Ben and Woods next on 97.3 The Fan. I was wondering when the conversation would turn toward one Jurickson Profar. Saw a lot of tweets this weekend saying the Padres made a mistake in letting Jurickson get away.
They did nothing.
Not having Jurickson this year was maybe the big difference. The chemistry, the versatility, he was the straw that stirred the drink.
He opted out.
He opted out, yes, but the Padres did not re-sign him, and he was not here. I want to discuss this as we get into our Padres wrap-up, because I do think it bears at least a couple of points that need to be made about Jurickson Profar, who had a really good weekend, by the way. He was a bright spot for the Padres in Houston. We'll get to that coming up. I do want to remind everybody the Upper Hand Fantasy Podcast brings you the latest news and player insights to help you win and avoid any embarrassing league punishments. In-depth analysis, start-sit questions, everything you need for your fantasy team. Hopefully you're 1-0. Download Upper Hand Fantasy on free. You're not.
Got my ass kicked.
0-1?
Yeah, 0-1. Played the Cowboys defense last night. That's cool.
I don't know that Upper Hand Fantasy can help you when your opponent has the Cowboys defense in a game like that.
Lord.
Nothing can be done there.
Good job, Matt.
Download Upper Hand Fantasy on the free Odyssey app. All right, I want to talk about Jurickson Profar, and let's people need to settle down a little bit. A little bit out there, Padres fans. We'll get to that after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Got a motorcycle accident on the Federal Boulevard off-ramp, eastbound King Freeway. Looks like they may have to shut that ramp down, and they're talking about shutting down the Federal on-ramp to westbound King Freeway. Also, collision in the North County, northbound side of the 15. This is right at the westbound 78 connector ramp. Tow truck is rolling up to help out with that. It's got the right lane blocked. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben and Woods, San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a shame if they lose.
You can visit Pity City, but you can't live there.
Oh, it's been a great day today. Can't wait for more.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy live from the Crapper again.
Did you miss any of the Padres game yesterday?
Cancel the parade. That's why you play the games.
God, here we go.
It's the Padres wrap-up with
You
Ben
laughed,
Woods.
but he was right.
Slap Diego? More like fail Diego.
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
I just felt the way that the roster is built, they would have to outscore their opponents to win.
Here's the pitch to Diaz. Slow knuckleball off Campusano's glove. It'll go to the backstop. McCormick will come in and score. A single, a steal, a throwing error, and now a knuckleball that gets away, and the Astros with a 1-0 lead. 1-0. Altuve swings, skies it to left field. This place cannot hold that ball. Soto watches, gonna go. A home run for Altuve. 16th of the season for the little guy, a 2-run shot. And the Astros now lead 3-0. Pitch to Carpenter, launched in the air to deep right field. Tucker going back to watch this one. Gonna go! Long home run over the Astro bullpen in right center. Welcome home, Matt Carpenter. Padres are on the board. 5th home run of the season for Carp, and it's 4-1 here in the 6th. Today. 1-1, line to right center. Profar over into the gap, reaching out, can't get there. He falls down and rolls up against the wall. Bregman going to score easily from second base. Tucker's on his way to third. He'll go in standing with an RBI triple. And now 5-1 Astros. Diaz swings at the first pitch, lines it into right field, a base hit. Abreu has scored. Brantley will be held. 3rd run of the inning. 7-1 Astros. Still bases loaded, nobody out. And now with Jose Altuve coming up. First time in Major League history, a pitcher named Hill relieves a pitcher named Hill. And Altuve is hit by the very first pitch on the foot. And a run will come in. No balls and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch. And Tucker swings. Skies one to right center field. Hit a long way. Grisham back at the wall. Leaps up. Can't make the catch. Hits off the wall. Pena going to score all the way from first. Tucker's heading for third. He's standing with his 2nd triple of the inning. 12-1 Astros in the 6th. Shinsky deals, and that's hit in the air to deep left field. That one way back. gonna go. First big league home run for Eggy Rosario. 2-2. The pitch. Profar hits a ground ball to second. Backhanded by Altuve. Sets himself. The throw to first is in time. And the ball game is over. Astros with a show of force here this afternoon. They beat the Padres 12-2.
A lot of bad stuff for us. So, obviously defensively wasn't great. We left some runners on early in the game when it could have been impactful, and then it got away from us. So, not our finest moment.
Well, that went on entirely too long.
Yeah. We had some time to kill, so it's fine.
The common theme the last few weeks in Padres losses has been the one big inning allowed.
A lot of one big innings.
Saw that in both the last two games, 5-run fifth on Saturday, and then the 8-run sixth inning for the Astros yesterday, in which Tim Hill faced 6 batters and gave up 6 hits.
That is something else.
Led to one of those very rare things that only happen in baseball. Kyle Tucker, who had not had one triple all season long, came up twice in the 6th inning against 2 left-handers, both named Hill, and had RBI triples against both of them in the same inning after having no triples all season long. It's one of those weird baseball anomalies you get, especially late in the season as the Padres lose 12-2. Dropped 2 out of 3. They went 3 for 17 over the last 2 games with runners in scoring position. That feels awfully familiar from earlier in the season. Matt Waldron, knuckleball was giving Luis Campusano some trouble. He had a rough game. Campy's had a nice little second half of the season after he's come back. Yesterday was not one to remember.
That man can hit, though, dude.
0 for 4, pass ball, throwing error. It was just not a great day for him.
Not a good day for anybody yesterday, but the game before, a couple knocks.
Yeah.
He's a hitterish dude, and you wonder in the offseason, he's coming back. You wonder what else they're going to do. If they're going to go out and get Sanchez, and I'm so shell-shocked with this team right now. Really, that's honestly the way I feel. I said it on Friday. Remember when Ben and Woods first started? They were kind of telling us, well, the future's pretty bright with some of these prospects we have, and we saw some of those prospects make their way up to the big leagues.
Still waiting on some of them.
None were really impressive at the time, and Paulie and I again, we were very excited. Paulie and I went down. It was my first day in the press box ever, and first time I had a credential. And we went down. I believe it was Joey Lucchese's major league debut, and we were just elated to go watch this young Joey Lucchese, and then Eric Lauer and some of these guys and Asuaje, and it just, wow, it was really, really bad. So you end up flipping a lot of those guys and moving on. And I thought at the time that's definitely the right idea. And then my mindset started to change, and great, go out, spend some money, flip these prospects. Prospects are prospects, flags fly forever, the whole bit, right? Now I'm watching what the Padres are doing and thinking about what potentially they may do, Ben, in the offseason. And I'm like, I don't know that you overpay for Gary Sanchez. I don't know that you overpay for Blake Snell. I don't know that you overpay to bring back Lugo. I don't know that you overpay to bring back Waka. And now I'm shell shocked as to what they should do. They have not made very smart fiscal decisions in the last few years, and I'm wondering, do you have to break it all down again? It's hard to say that with so many guys locked up to long-term contracts, and you're not going to be able to move Manny or Xander or somebody would take Tatis in his contract. I promise you that. I know of at least 2 teams that would actively go out and get him today, but I don't think you want to do that if you're the San Diego Padres. You've got a lot of guys locked down here, but you got a lot of holes as well. It's the core that you've seen this year. They haven't been good. And so now how do you fill in pieces around them? We're going to have to do this again. It's going to be 10, 12 new faces in the clubhouse next year.
The core, to me, while they didn't live up to the expectations, there were very good moments from all of them throughout the season. I thought the depth was more of the issue for the Padres this year, that they had no depth whatsoever. Pitching,
I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I really do. Like the big four, the whatever you want to call them, just never at the same time, staggered throughout the season. Xander's had some big moments, sure.
In the end, their numbers aren't going to look bad.
Well, I told you that. I remember. I said, at the end of the season, you're going to, I mean, how hot has Xander Bogaerts been when we are absolutely out of it? Manny had a nice stretch there where he was Manny. And then off, Tatis has been solid, like just pretty solid
like
all
Bob Melvin
year.
said, they weren't expecting the moon from Tatis
Correct.
coming off a season.
I think he's delivered.
I think they're really happy with what he has given them this year.
Certainly
could very well win a Gold Glove.
He absolutely should.
And Soto has been their best player, really, over the course of the season.
It's just again, I told you last week, and I think I told you the week before. Yes, you're going to look when it's all said and done. You're going to look at the numbers and go, "Well, what the hell?" It was a matter of when the numbers came.
The timing was very poor all year long.
Horrific.
The Padres, whether it's runners in scoring position,
clutch, seventh inning and later, one-run games.
The timing for this team
horrendous.
Was
the
really
worst I've ever seen.
The biggest issue. Oh, absolutely.
Maybe the worst in baseball history.
The timing was horrible. That to me is what makes this offseason such a tricky one, because how do you bring back? You want those same players. You want that production. You just want it at better times. Padres could have had a good season with the same amount of production
100%,
by putting it all at better times and more opportune moments. But they do need depth, and that brings me back to Jurickson Profar. And honestly, if the Padres can get Jurickson to come back next year on a really cheap deal because he obviously got released and didn't have a very good season, might not be a bad depth piece. But for everyone who's saying Padres made a mistake and not getting him back and letting him get away to the Colorado Rockies, I'd say this: why would you overpay for a Jurickson Profar who wasn't going to play
again
this year for the Padres?
Again, you'd overpay. You've overpaid already for him. He had one the last season before his opt-out season. He was serviceable, right?
He would have been, a backup for the Padres this season.
Oh, absolutely,
maybe a decent option as a backup for a team that needed depth, but you don't give a guy a raise from a season in which he is a starter and was a key contributor. You don't say, okay, we're gonna increase your salary because you opted out, so you want more,
out, right?
So you're definitely gonna want a higher salary. Except you're probably going to play maybe a quarter of the games you played last season.
Yeah.
How would that have made any sense at all to give a guy a raise to play a third or a quarter of the number of games he did the season before?
You spent 13. You spent 13 total on a Carpenter, Nelly, Cruz platoon. That's been two terrible moves.
That was obviously a mistake.
Sure. Yeah. So 13. If you look at it that way, would you have rather had Profar, switch hitter, being able to play that role than those? Yeah, probably.
First base.
Play first base.
Just
play
be
the
DH even.
DH even, whatever. Yeah. Or let Soto DH at times.
Profar was so bad, the Rockies, who paid more than the Padres had been paying him, released him in August. He was that bad this season.
He really was.
And yet, I see a bunch of Padres fans feeling like he was the missing piece. He's why this team didn't succeed. A guy who was so bad that the worst team, the team that's 20 games behind you in the division after you had a terrible season, he was so bad that he couldn't stick around on that team just to fill out some at-bats the rest of the season. He was that bad. And you're telling me that was the guy that was the missing piece for your franchise this season?
Well,
come on.
Hindsight being 2020, you'd take Profar over Carp and Nelly every day. And again, hindsight being 2020, go pick up Gary Sanchez before the Giants do and the Mets do, and have him catching some of those games before the season. Again, hindsight being 2020, looking in the rear view.
It's hard. By the way, it's hard to give A.J. Preller any credit at all for Gary Sanchez.
It is.
The Padres were in such dire straits.
They got Kevin Plawecki, and he started getting ABs down below, and then Sanchez came available, and they snagged him.
Gary Sanchez gets all of the credit.
Gary Sanchez was a $1 scratcher ticket.
Yep. That hit $500.
That you like, all right, well, we're not going to be able to make our rent unless we get the jackpot on this $1 scratcher. And amazingly, they scratched off the Gary Sanchez ticket, and it was like, Ooh, 500, 500, 500. Whoa, we just won big on our $1 scratcher ticket.
You know, and people...
You don't get scouting credit for picking up a guy that has been released by 2 other teams when you are that desperate at the catching position.
People in the chat and online too are saying, well, he was the glue. Well, then if he was the glue, didn't it behoove him to take what he had signed for? And I know, hey man, my value went up and I want to raise. Did he feel disrespected by the Padres? He got about $1.5 million more. I think if we could do it all over again, though, I think the Padres absolutely should have kept him this year. And you can't say just because he had a crap season in Colorado, he would have had a crap season here. That's on him, though. It's on him as much as it's on the San Diego Padres. You chose to walk away, man, and it did not go well. You got hurt. You didn't play well.
And by the way, he should have.
Should
have opted out.
Sure.
I would have done the same thing.
Sure.
I mean, this was a guy that at one point was the number 1 prospect in baseball and had just grinded through a major league career. Finally, in a contract, in his last year where he's able to opt out, he had his best year of his career.
I think in hindsight, Jurickson, who only got, I think, what, 250,000 more?
No, I thought it was
1.5. He got 1.5. I thought he got 7.75 and could have opted in for 7.5.
I thought it was 6, and he could have. I thought it was 6, and he got 7.75.
Okay, well, it seems
I don't think it matters much. It wasn't. It wasn't a ton.
In hindsight, I know for a fact Jurickson was asking for a lot more than that, though, from the Padres. He wasn't asking for 7.5, and the Padres said, "No, we can't do that." We would have you could have opted in for 6, whatever, but they didn't say no. He was asking for a lot more. He couldn't get it from anyone, and by the time the Rockies gave him a little bit more, the Padres had moved on. They had already moved on.
Dwayne in the chat makes a really, really good point. What has Bob Melvin been saying like a mantra lately? I didn't want to play Soto in the field that much. I didn't want to play Tatis in the field that much. Jurickson Profar solves all of that. Matt Carpenter and Nelly Cruz do not. They just do not. Those guys were statues. I mean, you do not want to run those guys out in the corners, obviously, and you really don't want to run them out at first base even.
So the real mistakes were, who did they sign, for $1 million and then got rid of him? In 6 games. Adam Engel. The backups that they thought were going to be the good outfield backups, those were mistakes as well.
Absolute ton.
I mean,
ton of wasted
there's so
cash,
many things that we can go back and say were misfires in the offseason. We'll continue this discussion. Hour number 2, Take on Woods, coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan.
You know, I was thinking, fellas, welcome back. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. Got an hour down, got 3 to go with the boys here. I was thinking there are still many people in town, in the San Diego proper, that are Aztecs fans, that are Padres fans, and that still root for the Chargers. They're still Charger fans. What a crap weekend for you. What an absolute dirt crap weekend for you. If you're still that person, those are all your squads, right? I know a ton of you guys out there. You're like, what in the... What?
Dad, good morning.
Good morning, Steve Higgins. You're like, what did I do to anybody to deserve what I watched yesterday and all weekend from my 3... Friday night, you're pretty happy. Pods won. You're like, all right, I'm fired up for the Aztecs on Saturday. Garbage. Padres lose on Saturday, blow a 4-1 lead. And you're like, all right, well, at least the Chargers are on. And the Pods. Pods get absolutely bodied, run out of the stadium, embarrassed, and then the Chargers just completely crap their diaper on national television again, and you're like, all right, man.
I do think the Dolphins are a pretty decent team.
They are.
And I think one of the unfixable problems for the Chargers, people say, it's the ownership, whatever. I agree with all of that. But when every game you play is a road game, in a sport where home field advantage is the most important in any of the sports, you're never going to really be a great team. The Chargers play 17 road games every year, where other teams get to play 8 or 9 home games. It's that simple. You are putting yourself behind such an 8 ball to start the season. Did you hear?
I did.
In the fourth quarter especially, when Miami scored the go-ahead touchdown, and the Chargers had plenty of time.
Plenty.
They missed the extra point, so it's a 2-point game.
No, you need a field goal. You win that game.
You got Justin Herbert. You got a high-powered
Mike
offense.
Williams. You got Austin Eckler.
34 points. I mean, you've moved the ball pretty easily throughout the game. This is a game, if you were at home, you expect to win that, 7, 8 out of 10 times?
Absolutely,
at least
man.
in that situation. And they took the grounding penalty on first down. And you could just hear the crescendo of noise. I find it hard to believe that, it would be louder in Miami in the same situation. You are basically going up against an intense road crowd in the most important moment of your game.
In your own house.
Every single time in your own house.
Yeah.
You can't win that way.
This is the Dolphins radio network, so the broadcaster's obviously excited, but it sounds like this game took place in Miami.
Puts it to the corner, and it's caught! Tyreek Hill, touchdown! Who else can you beat in a game? My gosh. Tyreek Hill, again. What a throw.
That throw. Oh my
what a
God.
throw by Tua.
Unbelievable. Just and Herbert just got killed on the last couple of the
sacks. The blitz
got killed.
You got to figure out a way to beat the blitz on those plays. Miami just came right up the middle, like there was no one stopping them at all. And the Chargers end up losing 36-34. And what I would imagine is one of the more pivotal games they're going to play. It's a home game. You were two teams that were both in the playoffs last year that both expect to be, fringy playoff teams this year. Those are the kind of games that end up being tiebreakers at the end of the season. When you go 9-8, 10-7, you're trying to get a wild card. Yeah, the AFC West, everyone lost except for the Raiders. You could have been in the catbird seat after 1 week with a huge win. Instead, now you're 0-1. Chiefs are 0-1. Chiefs are thinking like, wow, we got lucky. We lost, and all we are is 1 game behind the Raiders. I bet we can make that up in the next 16 games. That's not going to be too big of a problem.
Yeah, it was just, again, one of those games you score 34 points, you think you should win. What did what's the report card in our local paper say? I didn't get a chance to see it yet. Anybody see the report card? Or?
Missed it.
I'm sure there were some F's and some
C's. Maybe some D's in there.
Pulling it up here.
This should be in there.
Don't know.
It always is.
It is. It's
Quarterback's
definitely
got
there.
a D.
Oh, you really have it. I was actually kind of joking.
No, it exists. It's out there. It's on the front page.
That's cool. It's cool.
Running backs, Nick Cannibal gave them an A.
Oh, Austin Eckler's a great player.
Receivers got a C. The offensive line got an F. The defensive line got a D-.
Fantastic.
Coaching got an F-.
An F minus. Not only are you bad, you're really effing
You know,
bad.
that grade doesn't really exist.
It doesn't exist. I
No
would have
such
gotten a
thing
few.
as an F minus.
I would have gotten a few in my day. But no, I mean, it was that was a rough weekend for you, San Diego sports fan or San Diego hybrid LA fan, and it's a tough one.
Consequently, the Dolphins winning that game was the highlight of my sports weekend.
Yeah, there you go.
Need a contestant for Take on Woods. If you want to join us, try to qualify for a getaway to Las Vegas in our musical trivia game. About 2 minutes away. Give us a call, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The phone lines are wide open right now, so this is your chance to get in. Take on Woods. If you've always thought about it, never had the courage to do so, I invite you to take that challenge today and take on Woods. The other part of it is that in the battle to try to sway some of those fans up in Los Angeles, you move up there after the Rams. You're clearly, secondary tenant, little brother. And then the Rams go and win a Super Bowl on you.
Yes.
So they've already won the hearts and minds. But you do have, at least this season, where everyone says the Rams are going to be one of the worst teams in football, and the Chargers should be exciting, better players, got more stars. LA loves stars.
They win a lot of off seasons. It's very familiar
LA
to what
loves
happens
stars,
here.
so this is a chance, maybe this year at least, we can sway a few people who had been Rams fans. Well, this year I'm going to give the Chargers a chance because the Rams look horrible. Well, guess what happened? Rams go up and absolutely maybe the most shocking result in the NFL this weekend. And yes, I'm saying that partly because my survivor pick was the Seattle Seahawks. They come out 23-0 in the second half. They looked remarkably good. I didn't count on, in fact, I didn't even know who Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua were, but they looked like two Cooper Cups out on the field when the real Cooper Cup was on injured reserve. I'm going, well, how can you make up for the loss of a guy like Cooper Kupp with Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua, who both had 119 yards receiving in that game against what is usually a really tough Seattle defense and a tough place to play up there in front of the 12th man at Lumen Field. Yeah, they had no problem at all.
No problem with them at all.
So now, all of a sudden, the LA is going, all right, maybe we're still on the Rams bandwagon and the Chargers remain irrelevant this year.
It's week one. Everybody's healthy. Matt Stafford is feeling good. And after time, I mean, some of the older quarterbacks, if they're not protected, and I don't think he'll be, surprisingly, though, Seattle didn't get to him very much. If you get to him and you knock him down over and over, those older quarterbacks, man, they take a beating. And by about week 6 or 7, kind of starts to crumble away. But, hey, it's opening day. Everyone's feeling good. Everyone's healthy. They're ready to go. And you see some things like that. I mean, there were some upsets yesterday.
A few months ago, Sean McVay looked like he was ready to just walk away. Now it's like, all right, I remember this Sean McVay. I remember this team that comes out with energy and passion and looked like the Rams of a couple of years ago that were building toward a Super Bowl title again. So good for them. Good for them. Bad for me, but good for the LA Rams with one of the impressive wins of the weekend.
It really feels like 2018 all over again. We were talking, you mentioned it earlier, Woodsy, talking about how this is kind of where we're at with the Padres. We're doing that cycle again of the future. And now we're talking about the fight for LA and who's winning.
It's great. Time is a flat circle.
Time is a flat
circle.
Is that a song by someone?
No,
it should be. Sounds like a song title.
From True Detective. Time is a flat circle.
Let's get to today's game of Take on Woods. All right, let's welcome Guy in Bay Park, one of the legends of Take on Woods, to Take on Woods this morning. Hello, Guy. How are you?
Wow, very flattering. Thank you, sir.
Start Woodsy off with an L.
Yeah, Woodsy's out, so you got a chance to qualify for the 2-night stay at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Private VIP pod at the Westgate Superbook with a $250 food and beverage credit. Experience high-action entertainment at the best race and sports book in Vegas, and check out the $70 million in room renovations at the Westgate, home of legendary Vegas fun. All right, let's get to our categories for today. Will wonders never cease? Will everyone take that category? Wonder, the key word there. Title, yes. Lyrics, no. Part 2. We did part 1 last week. The songs in which the title never appears in the lyrics. And our new category today is Lost and Found. 5-song titles that include either the word lost or the word found. So, of those three, Guy, will Wonders Never Cease, title yes, lyrics no, or Lost and Found? What would you like to try today?
Let's try and clear out that Wonders.
It's gone. Finally, I've been waiting. All right, the word wonder is the key to all of today's musical answers. Yeah, Paulie's got to go back in his email file about 2 weeks to find when I first put this one out there. 60 seconds, 5 questions. Start with our 2-second song. You got to give me the title and the artist when you hear the music, and then go on from there. You know how it works. So let's get to it. You ready, Guy?
Hang on. It was over a month.
Paulie's still looking back for Will Wonders Never Cease in the category. All right, you remember you can pass. If you don't know an answer, we'll come back to that question. If there's time left on the clock at the end, Woods will then get his 60 seconds. If you beat or tie him, you will qualify for our grand prize drawing at the end of the month for the getaway to Las Vegas. Are you ready, Paul?
I'm ready
Paulie
now.
is now ready. 60 seconds on the clock, Guy. The category is Will Wonders Never Cease. Your time begins when Paul plays our music. Good luck, Guy. Let's take on Woods.
No New Year's Day.
Stevie Wonder, pass for now.
Today is going to be the day that they're going to throw it back to you is the first line from which hit by Oasis?
Wonderwall.
Correct. Earth, Wind, and Fire recorded a 1979 disco hit titled
Boogie
Boogie.
Wonderland.
Correct. John Legend and Miley Cyrus both have songs named after which DC Comics superhero?
Wonder Woman?
Correct. Exploring Young Love is the theme of which John Mayer song he says he wrote about his girlfriend at age 14?
Your Body's a Wonderland.
Correct. Go back to our 2-second song. I know you can get it.
No New Year's Day.
Wonder. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
I'm kind of flinching up on that one.
Quickly.
Wonder.
Oh, I don't know if that's going to be the difference. Guy, you just called to try to beat Woods, but that song was I Just Called to Say I Love You by Stevie Wonder. You got the rest of them. Wonderwall, Boogie Wonderland, Wonder Woman, Your Body is a Wonderland. Let's see if 4 is enough. Let's bring Woods back in. He's been in isolation this whole time. He's not good in isolation. He likes conversation. He likes people.
I'm better in isolation than you think.
Are you
to
okay
be
in
honest with
isolation
you,
out
yeah.
there?
I love isolation.
2 little kids, 5 and under. Yeah.
Guy's score
I'm
is
fine.
locked in. 60 seconds back on the clock. Woods doesn't get the category. Time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Guy.
New Year's Day.
I Just Called to Say I Love You, Stevie Wonder.
Correct. Today is going to be the day that they're going to throw it back to you is the first line from which hit by Oasis?
Wonderwall.
Correct. Earth, Wind, and Fire recorded a 1979 disco hit titled Boogie what?
Pass.
John Legend and Miley Cyrus both have songs named after which DC Comics superhero?
Wonder Woman.
Correct. Exploring Young Love is the theme of which John Mayer song he says he wrote about his girlfriend at age 14?
Very creepy. Your Body is a Wonderland.
Correct.
14.
Earth, Wind, and Fire recorded a 1979 disco hit titled Boogie what?
Boogie Wonder?
No! It's Boogie Wonderland, and that was a big one because by a 4-4 score,
tie.
Guy gets the tie, and tie goes to the contestant into the drawing for the grand prize. So, Guy, congratulations. Stay on the line. The category, Will Wonders Never Cease?
If I had a daughter and she was 14 and somebody wrote a song about her.
He was 14.
Well, his girlfriend at age 14. Yeah, he was 14.
Okay. So
but
I'm
she was
assuming
probably around
what,
the same
30?
age.
So she was, yeah.
All right, I have boys.
She was coming off her second divorce.
I don't think he recorded it until later, but he wrote it.
I
at
have
age
boys.
14.
If my son wrote a song about his girlfriend at 14, said, "Your body is a wonderland," I'd be like, "Do we need to have a talk? You little creep. We need to go sit down and have a chat."
Maybe you're like, I need some advice.
Your body is a wonderland. Huh. Interesting. John, can you come by the house later this afternoon? I'd like to have a chat with you.
The interesting thing, that category has been sitting there.
It's rotting.
Since
rotting.
You
What?
said
When did I send that to you?
August 8th.
Well, so it's been there a month. It's been over a month that category has been sitting there. It's finally,
Off the
Guy,
board.
thank you for taking it off the board and turning it into a win. Congratulations, Paul. You'll get all your information during the break. We'll come back with a Don't Do This, which features a pitcher.
This is one of the this is the topic is things you can think but should not say. Yeah, the things that you think but you just can't say.
Of course, it's often thought.
I'm sure it's
on the major league level. So
I'm
why
sure
can't
it's
you just
thought
say it
all the time.
Why can't you just say it out loud?
I'll tell you why. Next.
All right, we'll come back next. Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station. Check traffic right now on 97.3 The Fan. Just a reminder, all guests on Ben Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. All right, I will start Don't Do This with one of the big college football headlines from yesterday.
Oh, my God.
This made my chin hit my chest. And it popped up. I read the entire article, and I went, whoa.
Oh, in a way, it's a story we've seen all too many times.
Sure.
And it shouldn't be all that surprising.
Yeah, good point.
But in another way, it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So Michigan State yesterday suspended Coach Mel Tucker, head football coach Mel Tucker, without pay while the university investigates sexual harassment claims. Now, if that was simply the headline and it was, anonymous woman reports sexual harassment, you'd go, well, that's too bad for Michigan State. But we've seen this, unfortunately, all too often, in recent years, especially from men in authority positions.
Well, and Michigan State, make no mistake, they made it very clear. He's coached his last game.
Yeah,
this is
it's a formality.
It very much seems
they
as
have
though
buyouts
he is going to
and
be
contract stuff.
He is going to be out of a job soon. That's just the first step moving forward. What turns this story into a monumental Hall of Fame Don't Do This is who Mel Tucker. I mean, I wouldn't even say accused. He admits what he did.
Yeah.
So there's really not too much of a question about the facts of the case. The person that is accusing him is Brenda Tracy, who is the professional who is brought in by schools to address teams on issues of sexual assault and sexual harassment. In fact, the very same person that San Diego State brought in a year ago in the wake of the sexual assault claims, the Matt Ariza situation, of course, what happened, the fallout from entirely that. She came in and spoke to San Diego State. She's done it at other schools.
She's a victim of gang
and
rape when she was 24.
She speaks from her own personal experience. Obviously, this is very emotional. And over 8 months, they developed what seemed like it was a good professional relationship. Mel Tucker had her in, multiple times, talked to the team, made her an honorary captain for a game. And it seemed as though that this was a good, positive thing that Michigan State was doing until all of a sudden, I guess Mel got it in his head that their relationship was something different and started, trying to give her gifts and, asking inappropriate questions until it came to all came to a head on April 28th when they were having a phone conversation that,
oh, my God.
Let's just say Mel Tucker, he thought it was like a phone sex conversation, and she very much did not. He was doing his part on his end. She was horrified on her end of the conversation and reported him to Michigan State. And this is where it has led to now with his suspension and ultimately likely removal as the head football coach at Michigan State University.
Yeah, I mean, the story's out there if you want to read it. It's
gnarly.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's a really well-done piece. But holy smokes, man. I read this thing. I was like, oh, Mel. So, guy's going to be out of a job. Hey, I think he signed an $80 million deal
He's
to
like
coach.
one of the highest paid coaches in all of football.
I mean, what do you say? It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. This was making the rounds on Friday night. When I saw it at first, I thought it was fake. I thought somebody was tweeting out quotes, and I said, "Well, no pitcher is going to say this. No pitcher is going to come out, out of a game and then say this after a game." Whoa. So that's George Kirby, Seattle Mariners rookie, 25 years old. Yeah, I mean, if you heard what he said, he goes, I didn't think I should have been out there. There will be a conversation soon. I honestly think there'll be a conversation soon bothered me more than I didn't think I should have been out there. I really do. Like, all right, first of all, kid, settle down. There will be a conversation soon. You won't be having it. It's like I tell Bo, no. You don't I make the rules. If we have a conversation because I initiated it, right? Like the manager sends you out, you got the bottom of the order coming up. Kid, I need you. You're at 90 pitches. We got to get through it. He was gassed, I guess. Didn't feel like he could go. Well, so I thought I chalked it up to young kid says something dumb, which happens all the time. Bro, he became the main character. I mean, he got roasted by bunch of old big leaguers, man, that just went after him. Jared Weaver being the first one. Mark Mulder called him a P word. And essentially, but it was funny with Jared Weaver because Jared Weaver really went after him. That's why I could never coach. These kids are all soft and blah, blah, blah. And then somebody found an old article and they say, hey, didn't you do the same thing? And he's, oh, good catch, but different circumstances, right? It's like, we do like to paint. We all do it. We all do it. Ben, you probably do it with golf rounds. I've done it with baseball games I've played. Paul, you've probably done it with basketball. We paint in our mind. It's better and bigger than what actually happened. We were tougher than we're actually letting on. We're not as tough as we think we are, right? Houston Street, who the most innings he ever threw in a season was 78. He's out there ripping this kid. Mark Mulder ripping this kid. Roger Clemens ripping this kid. He's a kid. He made a dumb mistake. Shouldn't have said it. You definitely don't say it. But he's going to be okay.
Well, clearly, you look around baseball, and it is now very common for a pitcher who is now into 90 pitches after 6 innings to be taken out of a ball game.
And I don't think
what happens here in San Diego 95% of the time.
And I don't think it's on these kids. I don't think they don't train hard. I don't think they're not mentally strong. I don't. I really don't. I think that's a generalization. I do think that mentality, everyone's like, well, look what Nolan Ryan did. Everyone loves to use the outlier. Like, what Bob Gibson would be rolling over in his grave. I'm like, Bob Gibson pitched 70 years ago, 60 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone loves to do Tony Gwynn could just hit it through the 5-5 hole. Well, you know why? Because he's Tony Gwynn. He's a kid. He's learning his way. I'm not giving him a pass. I think it's a dumbass thing to say.
Well, I think what this is fundamentally about, Woods, is that George Kirby believes that he should be used optimally in every situation. But that's not reality. Yeah, I'm sure managers and teams would love to put their players always in the best position to succeed. That's what their job is, to try to put their players in the best possible situation to succeed. Reality, though, sometimes dictates over the course of a long season that sometimes a guy's going to have to go in when he doesn't feel his best, that he's not in the best circumstances. Hey, Josh Hader, occasionally you're going to have to go in for an inning and a third. Occasionally you're going to go in with a runner already on base. That's the reality of baseball. You can't create a perfect situation for every player every single time.
And there probably is a little bit too much dictating by the players in baseball how things go. But again, if the guy knows his body, you just can't say it.
But in this case, I'm sure the Mariners went. They probably had some bullpen issues. Going, we need one more inning out of you here. We need to win this game. And while you may not feel the best, we still think you're a better option than whatever else we can go to, because we got this guy for the 8th and this guy for the 9th, but we can't afford to lose this game. So we need you in the 7th against the bottom of the order. The only answer that you give as a player, you can tell the coach, I'm not feeling 100%, but I'll give you everything I got. I will give you everything I got out there, Skip, to try to get these 3 outs for my team here. That's the only answer you can really give.
Now, he came out the next day and said, I screwed up. I had a conversation with Skip after. He usually has to pry the ball from my hands. He was frustrated. He didn't get the job done. He left him out there, and he didn't get the job done, and that's, I think, what really was sticking in his craw. It's the Blake Snell complaining about the error or the hit that should have been an error, and I want my ERA title, and it's that. I mean, they're in a pennant race in Seattle, so I'm not going to roast this kid for the rest of his life. He's a pretty tough customer, man. He's a really, really good pitcher. I mean, Houston Street tweeted, and this right here shows that no GM will ever want you. And I said, Houston, I promise you, there's 28, 29 GMs going, we'll take George Kirby in a heartbeat. So just the old school of like, I was so tough and these guys are so weak. That stuff gets old.
And I will say, to Blake's credit, his most famous complaint was being taken out too early.
Yes,
in the World
yes,
Series.
that's exactly right.
Not being left in too long.
That's exactly right, because he was dealing.
I will give him credit for that.
100%.
All right, finally, a little do this on a Monday.
DD mega.
And I always feel like the U.S. Open tennis tournament gets a little shortchanged because the finals are always on the first weekend of the NFL season. College football, it kind of gets lost when everything else is going on. You're watching Red Zone and you go, wait, what's going on right now? Well, it was an amazing weekend of tennis starting on Saturday when 19-year-old Coco Gauff became the youngest Grand Slam and U.S. Open winner since Serena Williams, defeating Aryna Sabalenka in the final. Came back after losing the first set to win the next two sets. She is probably the next big thing in American tennis, certainly on the women's side. And she had a message for her critics after the win.
Oh, I want that one.
Well, we didn't. We still have that sound? We don't have that
I got it
sound?
here.
All right. Yeah. Let's go. Yes, I love that.
Now, I'm a more casual tennis observer, but that young woman must have some rabbit ears because all I've ever heard about Coco Gauff, 19 years old, ranked 6th in the world, like rising rocket star with huge things ahead of us.
All you need
I
is
haven't
one.
heard I haven't heard a ton of doubters out there.
I promise you
Michael Jordan
somewhere.
used to just make it up.
Yeah.
He made it up. He said, this is what he said to me. He goes, I never said that. Yes, you did. As far as I'm concerned.
I promise you, at some point, somebody told her she wasn't going to make it.
No question.
And that's all she needed.
That's all you need.
And
Sometimes
then,
all you need is one, even if it's not real.
Novak Djokovic yesterday, 24th Grand Slam title.
Good
He already has the
Lord.
record. Now he's trying to put it as far out of reach as possible. 36 years old, oldest men's singles champion at the U.S. Open. Straight sets win over Daniil Medvedev in the final yesterday. There was always kind of the debate, is it Federer? Is it Nadal? Djokovic is looking very goatish at this point now with
100%.
the numbers he's putting up, and that's don't and do this for a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we need to get into some of the college football,
Oh,
don't we,
yes.
from this weekend
Let's
as
do
well.
it. Here we
Let's
go.
talk about a little bit of that when we come back.
Speaking of chips on their shoulder, Benjamin, Ben's still not buying into it. You're still, hey, look at me. You still don't believe, do you?
I watched the game, and I'm
You don't-
starting to believe a little
You still
more.
don't believe, do you?
Just a little
I heard
more.
that bull junk that you said. You still don't believe.
Dion.
Oh, man.
And the
It's
Colorado
just
Buffaloes.
It's just appointment
What a
viewing.
story.
It's appointment viewing.
We'll get to that coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I finally put my finger on it during the break. What bothers me about the Deion Colorado situation?
What could possibly?
I'll tell you
what?
coming up. I'll tell you what it is. It's a great story. I know it is a great story. But there is one thing that does bother me. First of all, I will mention that we're doing 90s country on our Daily Ditties this week. If you missed it, back at 6:20. Our sister station, our country station down the hall, 103.7 KSON and Moonshine Beach, coming together to raise money to help those impacted by the devastating wildfires in Lahaina. Tomorrow, they got a special benefit concert hosted by KSON's own Smilin' Hawaiian Kimo Jensen. Performances by country stars Brian Kelly from Florida Georgia Line, Chase Matthew, Runaway June, Tim Duggar. 100% of ticket sales, 100% of bar proceeds go to benefit Maui Contractors Women's Auxiliary, local nonprofit. All concerts, donations directly benefited those affected in the community in Maui. Visit KSON.com for more details or to purchase tickets. It doesn't say where is the concert. Do you know where it is?
I don't.
It just was not in the copy. I guess you can find that out at KSON.com. Yeah, I will tell you why it just rings just not quite right for me.
Okay.
After this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the premier auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Traffic is sponsored by Old Town San Diego Chamber of Commerce. Got a few things going on here, guys, but good news first. They cleared that motorcycle accident from the Federal Boulevard off-ramp eastbound King Freeway. Now, watch out for some large tire tread in middle lanes northbound coastline before Del Mar Heights Road. And a crash still clearing on northbound 15 right at the westbound 78 connector. Get ready for a culinary extravaganza in historic Old Town San Diego. Join us on Thursday, September 21st from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Indulge in rich flavors and diverse cuisines at participating restaurants. Tickets available now at tasteofoldtown.org. Prepare your taste buds for an unforgettable journey at Taste of Old Town San Diego. I'm Kelly Danik with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
We wanted to really impose our will because the whole theme of the week was it's personal. One of the funniest moments in the during game after Shador took his helmet off after he made the tremendous scramble. It was like a Heisman type play. And I went over and said, you cannot do that. You cannot take your helmet off. He said, Dad, it's personal. And I just laughed. I just bent over and laughed my butt off because it was in the moment and I was really upset. And he broke the monotony up with it's personal. So they really took it to heart, that whole theme of the week.
So how amazing is what Deion Sanders has done at Colorado so far? I sat down and watched the entire Colorado-Nebraska college football game on Saturday morning. You know how little chance there would have been that I would have watched any of that game in years past.
So
zero, none at all.
So already, Paulie, give me a ding. So what? Ding. Okay, so the first step. Get eyeballs on the program.
Is Shador Sanders a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender?
Absolutely, without question.
Is Travis Hunter one of the most remarkable college football athletes I've ever seen?
Yes.
Absolutely. Did they just take it to the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the second after a slow start? Absolutely.
Yeah, no question.
2 weeks, and they have answered so many questions.
Doubled their win total from last year.
All right, here's what bothers me a little bit. It's personal, just what you just heard there.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal for Shador Sanders. It's personal for Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
You know, the rivalry with Nebraska. You know, the one they just arrived at a couple of months ago. It's not like they've been lifelong Colorado people. They act like they were born in Boulder and they have been working their way up to this their entire life. And it's all been about since they were like, you know, just when Shador Sanders was just a kid, his dream was, you know, suiting up for the Buffaloes so he could beat the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It feels a little fake. Deion against the world, like everyone doubted him. They haven't had a bad moment yet. There's been no time for criticism.
Whoa.
They have
to say that no one doubted them is the most.
All we heard was doubt.
Literally, all we heard was doubt about the way he did it,
turning over the roster,
the way he did
it.
The hype around it. That's all we heard. I heard worst roster in college football, was a real thing. They get picked against. They got picked against TCU, handle that business. Their defense was called into question against, after that game. Defense showed up huge. Bro, all they've had is doubts. And I'm no Dion lover. I'm no Colorado lover. But here's the thing. That's what you do. Brian Kelly affected a fake accent when he started in Louisiana.
And you didn't like it either.
I thought it was hysterical.
It just does feel affected to me. Like a fake accent. It's so personal at Colorado. Like we're Buffaloes through and through.
No, it's not even that. It's more of...
As though... Does anyone think Dion is going to be there in 3 years, 4 years?
Probably not. But is it... But that's what you do when you.
He's doing a great job. Absolutely, he's doing a great job.
When you sign a new contract to play for the Packers, or to play for the Padres, or to play for the Yankees, right? That's your squad now. That's your family. Now, by the way, this is a man that came in and these are all his guys. Like every single one of them, down to the last guy on the bench, handpicked by him. So I'd say that's absolutely personal. These are my guys. I picked all of these dudes. He didn't get thrown together and, I'm gonna see what I can do and mold these. He picked them all. Those are his squad. So Shedeur Sanders is very loyal to his dad. Now, I have, and you guys may know this, I have a PhD in passive aggressive. I have a PhD in petty. I am the Fields Medal winner, Ben, of passive aggressive. So listen to what Coach Matt Rule had to say before this game. Quote, I had my first team meeting last night. I'm one of those guys, I don't let the cameras in. There won't be a camera following me around. I want it to always be about the players. So that was Matt Rule a couple weeks ago. Coach Matt Rule from Nebraska also said, if you notice in our videos that we post, and I'm proud to post those, they're always of us working. They're never of us talking. They're always of us working. The program is built on work. It's not built on hype. Who in the world do you think he was talking about? He wasn't talking about anybody in the world on the planet but Neon Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. Period. They heard that. They knew that.
That's a great thing to say when you're 2-0 and the 0-2 team is getting all the hype.
100%.
When Colorado's 2-0 and you're 0-2,
it doesn't look good.
It doesn't really carry a lot of weight.
And honestly, like, have you seen a coach that cares for his players more than Deion Sanders?
Oh, I like Deion. I think he is. He's not only passionate. He's smart too. He's very smart. Now he's not the guy who is crafting all the X's and O's for his team, but he has hired some really good assistant coaches and he's empowered them as well. That's the sign of the strongest head coach possible. When you're not threatened by your assistants, he has put together a good staff who's doing a phenomenal job. Deion is doing everything right so far as head coach of the University of Colorado. I think
would you, San Diego State supporter, not an alumni, but a supporter, Paulie, you're an alum. I bet you Paulie's ass would have been at Snapdragon Stadium on Saturday afternoon if Coach Prime was running the program there. That's an exciting brand of football.
Absolutely.
I mean, what he's been able to do in just 2 short games, that's some of the most exciting college football you will see. And there's some good-ass college football teams. They're fun as hell to watch. I got the Irish game on, and I don't have 2 TVs, not in the same room. I've got more than 2 TVs, but I don't have them in the same room. I didn't have my iPad up or anything. Kids use it in the toilet, so I don't use it anymore. So I am just going back and forth. I'm watching the Irish, hand off, slip, fall, 2-yard screen, and I'm like, oh my God, please get this thing going. And I turn on the Colorado game. 5 wide. Shedeur Sanders drives back, dodges a bullet, slings. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I wanted to watch.
How can you not root for them?
It's so fun. They did the pregame interview with Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. I texted you guys. I go, I don't know how the hell you don't root for these guys. These guys are good kids, man, and they work really, really hard. You may hate the hype. They will fall flat on their face. They will get beat this year. There's a team that's going to beat them. It's going to happen. But holy cow, those guys would run through fire for that dude. Listen to them talking. They said to Travis, they said, so why here? And he goes, it's the only place in the country that would let me do what I wanted to do, and that's play both ways. I wanted to play defense and offense. And Coach Prime said, absolutely. He goes, Why wouldn't I do everything I can for this man? And I'm like, God, that's how it's done. That's how it's done.
Right now, Coach Prime is at the top of the heap. Just like when you go to the butcher, like our friend Anthony the Butcher.
Yeah, love Anthony the Butcher.
And you want the best steak possible, you get the Prime. They should grade coaches now on that same scale. Like Coach Prime is the Prime coach. Do you know the
What
list?
is Brady Hoke?
Well, let's see. One below Prime is Choice.
Okay.
I don't know that he's quite there.
We're just baloney.
Two below Prime is Select. If you want to just kind of, you don't want to spend a ton, you get the Select. It's below Choice, and 2 notches below Prime. Below Select is Standard. Maybe he's Coach Standard.
Yeah.
Coach Select or
Probably
Coach
about
Standard.
Ground Chuck.
Below Standard is Commercial. Below that is Utility. And then there's Cutter and Canner. You don't want to be buying your
you don't want
canner.
You don't eat meat out of a can. You really don't.
At the lowest
Try
level.
not to.
Below Prime.
Is that like deviled meat?
Oh, yeah, something like that. I think so. But
dude, how many schools out there today?
Kicking
San
themselves.
Diego State included.
Kicking themselves.
Dion was available. You could have went and got him.
I mean,
Colorado went on a whim, and they were like, "We're gonna throw everything we can at this guy. We're giving him money we don't even have yet."
They gave him money they don't have.
I doubt there's many schools, even in the hindsight, after seeing what this is, would have done it. I don't think there's a lot of athletic. I don't think there's a lot of athletic directors that would be willing to give up all of that.
Crazy.
What?
I think you're
You think
crazy.
JD? I don't know.
They have Big Noon Kickoff going to be at their game for the 3rd straight week. It's not even a Fox game, and ESPN Game Day is
the
going to be
amount of
there.
money
That
and everything
alone.
into it, I don't know that they would
Are
be
you out
willing
of
to go
your
on that
mind?
limb. It's 2 games. It's
I
not
can't
the whole
believe what
season.
I'm hearing right now. You know how much
They have
money
a very-
he's brought?
They have a very different challenge this week, by the way, that they have not faced yet. This week, they're immense favorites, 21-point favorites against Colorado State, an in-state rival that will want to really do everything they can to take
More
them down
than
today.
anything.
And, it's going to be a different motivational tactic this week. When you go in and everyone's expecting you to win by 40, that's different than going in and being the team that everyone's doubting and it's personal. What is Prime going to do this week against a team, by the way, that had this week off, so they've had 2 weeks to study film and get ready for this team.
They're not I've said it. They're not unbeatable.
No.
You saw pressure got to Sanders early, made a couple of bad throws.
I mean, they got Colorado State, and then after that, they go to Oregon. Top 20 team.
I mean,
and then they host USC the week after that.
The easy to overlook Colorado State with Oregon and USC coming up.
No
the following
question.
weeks,
No
too.
question.
Different
and listen,
challenge this week.
They 21 points is a lot. I'm not saying they won't cover it, but I don't know, man. Like if anybody's going to do it, so far so good with that program. I think you're way, way wrong. I think any athletic director.
I think every athletic director, save for 10 to 15, is like, oh man.
Did you see Folsom Stadium?
Yeah,
I mean,
amazing.
it was
amazing.
jamming.
I've been there. It didn't look like that.
No.
Did not look like that.
And I mean, just the merch, name it. I mean, the money is flowing in, Benjamin. The ratings, everything. They got it all.
just think a lot of ADs wouldn't have been able to
Heisman
stomach
hype.
that kind of roster turnover.
Yeah.
The calls to the parents saying, sorry, your kid's no
it was
longer on
ballsy,
scholarship. I don't know that they would have been able to stomach what Colorado. All the credit to Colorado and Coach Prime.
Guess
for what
where
he's
you'll
done.
be Saturday, though.
All right, we'll come
Watching
back
Colorado
with
State.
more next on the Fan.
Man, 2 hours has absolutely flown by on a Monday here on Ben and Woods. I'm Woodsy. That is Paul Reindl, our executive producer. Birthday boy this week, Thursday, right?
Thursday.
I will miss it. I will miss your birthday.
32?
33.
33.
I will miss your birthday and my wife's birthday. Two of the people that I love most in the world are going to be mad at me.
Do you think they'll actually age without you present?
They will, yeah.
They will still age without you there.
You know what I've learned? Life goes on. Okay? Life goes on. Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor here as well.
Good morning.
Is that Ben Higgins or Skip Bayless?
Skip Bayless over here.
Seth in the YouTube chat says Ben Higgins and Skip Bayless Venn diagram is a circle.
But you agreed with me during the break. You said what I said was not that it wouldn't be smart.
It wrong.
I wasn't saying it wouldn't have been smart to hire Prime. I'm saying that there are a ton of athletic directors out there, even knowing how much success he's had, that they would still say, I don't want any part of that. That's not the way
on the record then.
That's not the way
fired.
we do things at our school.
That's the old. That's not how we do business.
I guarantee it.
He's not wrong in that regard.
That there are athletic directors across the country who are looking and going, yeah, the tickets and the hype would be nice, and I'd like game
everything
day
we're in this for.
But that's not the way we do
the
things.
The money,
at our
the
school.
sellouts, the merch. We hate that stuff. We're going to hire Matt Rule instead. Yeah, you're damn right. Nebraska never would have hired Deion Sanders. Never.
We're good
never,
with
ever.
a select coach. We don't need a prime coach.
It is. But I'll tell you, again, like I said going into break, you know where your ass will be on Saturday. You will be watching Colorado State. Now, you may be watching them, Ben, to see them fall flat on their face. It's like Howard Stern. Why do they listen? To see what he'll say next. Everybody wants to see the downfall, or, you got people like me and Paul here actively rooting for him because I think it's so freaking cool.
You know what? And at some point, Colorado is going to lose, and I'm not gonna revel in that.
He's already doubled last year's win. He's already successful.
People are going to overreact to the loss as well. The haters are going to overreact to that loss and make it out to be like some sort of defining. Everybody loses.
That's what haters do.
Nick Saban loses all the time now.
Has
anyone noticed that Nick Saban loses all the time now? They're actually 4-3 in their last 7 games against legitimate opponents.
So I got a buddy, my friend, one of my best friends, Bauman, went up to Birmingham and went to that game, and he called me that morning when he was on campus. He goes, "This is unreal. It's just," and then you saw, if you're watching College Game Day, it was dead. There was these big patches of grass behind the stage, huge area. Well, they've had so much success. They've had so much success in Alabama. They're stop giving it to them. Give it to the Colorados, the upstart programs, whatever. They've gotten a little bit spoiled, a little bit comfortable with winning. And Texas went out and played one of the most solid games I've seen. Quinn Ewers was incredible. And made Alabama look like mere mortals, man, to be honest with you. And that was a weird one to see.
I hope this is a sign of things to come for college football because they need more good teams.
You have to have it.
It wasn't good for college football where it's Alabama and Clemson and LSU and Georgia. And that's it. And, maybe an Ohio State and a Notre Dame. And that's it. You have to have more interesting stories and good teams. College football already suffers. And we talk about this with San Diego State all the time. There are too many teams that have no hope at the start of the season. The more teams that you can have enter the conversation. I mean, the Pac-12 having 8 ranked teams right now, more than they've ever had, even though they're going away. It's good to have more fan bases engaged and feeling like, hey, we've got a good team. We've got a shot this year. It sucked when you went for a decade knowing it's going to be Alabama or Clemson or LSU at the end of the year or Ohio State. I mean, well, we know Ohio State's going to get there and get trounced at the end. It was like you have seen this script before every single season. So the more unpredictability, a little bit more parity that you can get, I think is great for college football going forward.
I agree.
And Prime's great for college football going
great,
forward.
Man. So many eyeballs on that program. And again, I mean, you won one game last year, you're already 2-0. So, I mean, mission accomplished already. But one thing is he's not going to let those guys be complacent. I would imagine he's probably going to scare the crap out of them this week. That's the method that I would use. I would actually turn the tables on him and be like, oh, let's not start reading our press clippings now. Now you're favored. You're supposed to go in and body this team. Let's prove everybody wrong again. I mean, and nobody thinks you can. And I don't think you can. You know what I mean? Like the old Lou Holtz method. But, man, it was a great weekend of college football. It was some really exciting games.
For our baseball fans in the audience, don't worry, we haven't forgot about you. Jake Mintz from Cespedes Family Barbecue going to join us on a grand old Monday coming up at 8:35 for our weekly conversation. And still have Sam Levitt to join us. As I teased earlier, I corrected a mistake that Sammy made on the pregame show.
Let Sammy do his job
Yesterday, but we haven't said what that is, so Woodsy's going to bring it up with him at 9:35
I will.
when he joins us. I texted him, during the show.
Did you watch the Aztecs football game?
I did watch the Aztecs. I actually, we had so many sports going on. I went to the Seagull so I could watch Padres, Aztecs, Washington State. That was the same time as well. Shelley wanted to watch her Cougs, who upset number 19 Wisconsin, and the Alabama-Texas game was all at the same time. I can do like 2 at home, but I can't do 4 at home. So
No,
I needed
4's a lot.
I needed a commercial establishment, and we went to the Seagull in Leucadia and watched a ton of sports on Saturday.
It's a tough one, man. It's a tough watch. It's a very, very difficult.
The Aztecs?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
A very, very difficult watch.
And they had chances to keep the game. They weren't ever going to win that game, but they had chances to make it look less embarrassing, like a drop touchdown pass in the first half. Right there. You got to make that catch. And then forcing a turnover, and you've got 1st and goal at their 1, and you go, no gain, interception. That's how a normal, not great loss turns into an embarrassing, ugly, like we maybe have problems in our program looking loss. There's a big difference between those two. And the Aztecs could have kept that like a respectable loss against
semi-respectable.
a UCLA team that's now ranked, I think, number 24th in the country. You go, okay, well, we lost, and it was at home, and we wanted to pull off that win. But, hey, we get those 2 touchdowns there, and it's maybe it's a 35-24 game, or it's 28-24 game because UCLA doesn't get the chance to go down and score on one of those. And all of a sudden you're going, all right, we can build off that. It wasn't a bad loss to a decent team. You look at 35-10 against a program that is picked 7th in the Pac-12, and all of a sudden you're going, we're not where we thought we were or should be as a football program. So big difference on just a couple of plays in that San Diego State game.
It was ugly, embarrassing, sucks. It's not a good product to watch on TV. It's just not. But I do think that the Aztecs are trending in the right direction. Had quite the.
Oh,
night.
are they?
Well, yeah, I was looking at their
stretch
media,
of an argument, I think.
Well, their media notes came
okay.
out, and the post-game notes, and number 1 bullet point on trends was the Aztecs won the coin toss for the 2nd time this season in 3 games.
Wow.
So that's whoever is making that call.
That's 67%. That is
that's damn good.
That is really solid.
Yeah,
I did not realize that. I did not give Brady Hoke nearly enough credit.
You heads or tails
for
guy?
For the heads.
Me too. Are you tails guy or heads
Tails
guy?
never fails.
Most always heads. I sometimes mix it up because I know there's no way it's always going to be heads, so you got to mix in a tails every once in a while.
I think I'm straight heads. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you know that about 50% of the time it's going to be tails.
Yeah, I think I
figure the only way to get them right every single time is by mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you know that the fates are going to mix it up as well.
I usually just go heads every time. Call it Woodsy heads. It's like second nature. So whoever's doing that for the Aztecs, great job.
Has anyone ever done a study?
I'm sure they have.
A personality study on people who are heads versus people who are tails and what that says about you as a person. Or maybe it's nothing at all. That's fascinating. Never thought about that.
Heads guy. Big heads guy. Huge heads guy.
So at the start of the show, we did mention, and we can bring it up again, obviously, it's 9/11, and talked a little bit about some of our remembrances 22 years ago, and today is Patriot Day, National Day of Service and Remembrance. I'm looking at the top of our rundown that Paulie gives us. It's also National Hot Cross Bun Day. And you know me, I love pastries. I don't know what a hot cross bun is. Is that an East Coast thing? Do you know, Woodsy, what a hot cross bun is?
Is it a song? It's also
a song.
But
Buns.
Yeah.
Cross buns.
Hot cross buns. I think it's like a religious pastry.
No, it's a spiced bun, usually made with fruit, traditionally eaten on Good Friday in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand.
Oh, is it Good Friday
It's
today?
got currants or raisins and spices in it. I'd eat it. Not too much bread. I won't eat.
It doesn't.
as
It
you
doesn't
know.
look like. It doesn't look like nearly as good as like a cinnamon roll.
No. But they're sweet rolls, lightly spiced with cinnamon and nutmeg, and studded with tangy craisins or raisins.
Craisin's a funny word.
I'm in on those. Hot cross buns look delicious. So happy National Hot
Cross Buns Day. I usually know my pastries pretty well. And
Yeah.
that one I wasn't all that familiar with, and I thought maybe the East Coast, but apparently it's a UK,
Australia,
Aussie, New Zealand sort of thing.
It's delicious.
But hey, if you see one out there today,
Grab me
enjoy
one.
a hot cross bun on National Hot Cross Bun Day.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. This segment of Ben and Woods is brought to you by the Golf Mart.
When's the Ryder Cup start?
Not until the end of the month. They did go over and did a little practice as a
practiced.
team.
I saw that.
Over in Italy for the tournament coming up.
Okay.
Which I think is going to be very entertaining. I'm looking forward to the Ryder Cup later this month, but we got a couple of weeks before we get there. So
Tony wants to know what
Padres,
we're talking
Dodgers
about.
tonight?
We're talking
Yeah.
about hot cross buns, obviously.
yeah,
Pastries.
I always feel like food talk
never
fails on this show.
Never ever fails.
In fact, that hot cross buns conversation was probably the worst food talk we've ever had. I was
Chris
surprised.
B says play some records. Yeah, we should. We should play some records. No, we got obviously. Look, so we're not eliminated yet, right?
Well, we're Padres were eliminated from the National League West race.
Damn
So close.
Got 'em right where we wanted
So
'em.
close to winning the West.
But I
remember
mean,
when we said this series is going to be really?
They're 8 back with 18 to go. So obviously they're not eliminated from the wild card race. However, even if they went 18-0, all Arizona would have to do is finish with a winning record, and the Padres would not make the playoffs. So they need to win pretty much every game and get a good deal of help the rest of the way. So,
Awesome.
you know, for all intents and purposes, it's so far beyond their control that it doesn't really matter at this point. But no, they won't technically be eliminated for at least another week.
They got to
or so.
go 15-3 over their final 18 to finish above 500.
Why do people care about that? I get people going, well, maybe they can fight their way back
just
to
pointing it
500.
out.
Why
I
would
don't
anyone
care.
want that at this point?
What do we want?
500 doesn't do anything.
No,
I mean,
anything at all.
I guess I'd rather them get to 500. Yeah, I mean, if they went 15-3, as opposed to going 3-15.
I mean, it does
doesn't
does
matter.
nothing for you.
Do you want them to have a good feeling going into the offseason?
No, I want
or
them to
do you
have a
want them
bad
to kind of have
feeling.
a bad feeling?
I need a bad taste.
I'm rarely in agreement with Woods on this, but the last thing I really want is for them to feel like, hey, we
Hey.
played really well over the last month and a half, and I think everything's fixed now, and we can just
Run it back.
feel comfortable going into next year. I don't want that for this team. I want a little discomfort in the offseason. I want some hard questions being asked. I definitely probably want some changes being made. I do not want everything's honky-dory. And, yeah, we just had a bad luck for the first 5 months of the season, and we showed who we were when we finished 15-3 over the last 18 games to get back to a game above 500 at the end of the season.
And
I
there's
don't want that.
Literally no reason to believe that they could even go 15-3.
Oh, yeah,
The
no-
most,
no
I think the
chance.
best they've ever done in 18-game stretch was 11-7.
Right.
2 times maybe.
Yeah, let's talk about this because there is. That's fine. I'll put myself on the chopping block next. I've got some issues with how things are being handled. Certainly, I have no problem voicing those. So, probably get a call later. It's all right.
That's a tease.
Yep.
All right.
I'm a little scared.
Yeah, he should be.
Come back with Woods' potentially penalty box inducing take.
Going on vacation after tomorrow.
That's a good
so,
point.
Yeah.
That's a good time to do it.
Should you wait until 9:45 tomorrow?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I can do it now.
On San Diego's #1 sports station, let's check traffic with Kelly. Be back with more here on 97.3 The Fan.
He's got a great tweet from DM. He said, actually, Woodsy, San Diego State isn't even picking the coin toss correctly. All 3 games have been at home. So the other team has just picked it wrong 2 out of 3 times. They aren't even doing that right. It was their number 1 trend on their media post game.
They're Jedi mind tricking the other team into picking it incorrectly.
It'll take me to Java now. No, I don't think what I'm going to say is anything groundbreaking. But just speaking personally, I was talking to my wife actually about it this weekend, and I was a little bit frustrated. Friday after the show, and I've been frustrated for a while as a voice on the Padres flagship, and really not to toot our own horn, but a pretty successful show and a lot of listeners. And I feel like the strategy, or I guess lack of strategy right now with what the Padres are doing, is starting to stick in my craw a little bit. And of course, I'm talking about the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability so far. And I realize that there are still games to go. And I realize that teams handle their business differently. I realize that, other organizations, you can't always compare yourself to other organizations. But where has and this is kind of echoing something Craig Elson said on our show a couple of weeks ago, where are the leaders on the San Diego Padres? And I don't mean, in the clubhouse, because we already know that there's a pretty severe lack of leadership in there. That's what we've all kind of, that or there's too many, right? There's too many voices, whatever. But there's no clear-cut voice. Nobody's following anybody into the gates of hell to go win a ball game in that clubhouse yet. So this isn't a personal attack on anyone. I realize that the job is very difficult, but at some point we need to hear from management. We need to hear from Peter Seidler at some point. We need to hear somebody say, this is on me and me alone, right? Watching Winning Time last night, I watched Jerry West and Pat Riley. Of course, they're actors. It's a show. But they walk into Jerry Buss's office, and Jerry West goes, blame me. And Pat Riley goes, nope.
Getting swept in the finals.
Yep. Yeah, he goes, blame me. And Pat Riley says, blame me. I could have made adjustments. And Jerry Buss says, fix it. We've just wasted a year of our lives. And that clicked in my head, and I went, that's cool. So I'm thinking about, I love Bob Scanlon so much. This is not an attack on Bob Scanlon. But on a last Friday, we got Bob Scanlon on just chewing the fat about a team that is spiraling the drain, would end up going to lose 2 out of 3. We have no idea of what a plan is. We have no idea. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting to be officially eliminated? It's coming. It's coming. So, the afternoon show's got Matt Batten on, Garrett Cooper the week before. These are guys that can't answer any questions.
I've been thinking about this a lot, actually. And I came to the realization, how do people in Major League Baseball get to where they are? For players, pretty simple. You work hard, your entire young life. You come up and play Little League and high school and travel ball and maybe college. You get drafted. You work your way up through the minors. You put in countless hours, and eventually you get to the big leagues, because you're talented enough and you're skilled enough and you've worked hard enough. How do managers get the job? Well, a lot of them are baseball lifers. They probably played growing up. They got into coaching. They worked their way up through the minor leagues, different jobs, and eventually they got their shot after amassing enough experience to be a Major League Baseball manager, get one of those 30 jobs. Same with GMs. GMs, oftentimes come through scouting and work their way up through travel. Really, tough life on the road for many years, and then maybe they get a job as an assistant GM, and that team does well, and they get a call, and they finally get to be the general manager of their own team after many, many years or even decades of experience. How do you become an owner of a professional sports team?
Buy a team.
You make a lot of money, usually in an industry that has nothing to do with sports. Whether you own restaurant chains or pharmaceutical company, or you're a venture capitalist, and one day you decide, because you really like the sport a lot, I am going to buy a baseball team or a football team. Nothing you've really done, though, in your life. I mean, maybe there's some business tie-ins, but really nothing has really prepared you to get to that point, to be an effective owner of a sports franchise. And that's why I feel like we see, not just in baseball, I'm not singling out Peter Seidler. I like Peter Seidler a lot. How can you not like Peter Seidler a ton? But you see all these seemingly incompetent billionaires who own professional sports franchises, and we're all surprised. How can a guy be that smart and make this much money, be so bad at what he's doing? Well, because what he's doing, he is not prepared at all in his life for what he is doing to own a professional sports franchise. It's one of the very few things where you get to the top of the pinnacle of something without any experience whatsoever before you get there.
Well, I mean,
and you have to then figure it out as you're going. And you make a lot of mistakes usually.
In our owner's case, I mean, he came from a lineage of owning a baseball team. So
he did.
He's
Family,
been around it.
Family
right?
had some of that.
Yep. So my big question is, A, what's the plan? B, why haven't we heard from anybody at all? The leadership of this organization has disappeared, man. Disappeared from social media, disappeared entirely. Where are they? We get called soft all the time. This is a friendly place to come. And you won't come on and tell everybody, hey, this sucks. We know it sucks. I don't know if they're waiting for a certain time. Please know we've asked for the leadership every single week, okay? We've
heard from AJ a few times.
Right,
but it was always
AJ didn't answer one single question.
It was always couched in the hope that they were going to turn it around.
Sure. And the last time we talked to him, there was still some hope. Had they been able to get some ball games going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know what the plan is. And again, maybe I'm jumping the gun. Maybe I'm a few weeks early. Maybe we will get this in 3 weeks and I'll be happy. But while people's phones are ringing, including my own, by the way, I was at the game on Wednesday. My phone rang. Hello? Hi, this is Caitlin. I work for the San Diego Padres, and I saw you were a season ticket member. Would you like to re-up? And I would have a hard time re-upping without knowing what the plan is, right? Whether it's a radio job, whether it's buying a house. I need to know what the plan is.
You want to know that there's a good plan in place, though, because you want to be excited about this team going forward.
No question.
But it's hard to until you have any idea what have you identified as some of the issues, and how are you going to address them going forward?
I saw Brian Cashman sit in a dugout and do a press conference. I saw Steve Cohen do a press conference. Again, and that's why I started the conversation saying not every organization is run the same.
And that doesn't fix anything, by the way.
It doesn't fix a damn thing. It doesn't fix a damn thing. I think what the fans need to hear is a little bit of, I don't know, almost reassurance that there's still a plan in place, a reassurance that, you know, we know how this. We're not dumb. We've covered this team every pitch of every game. We know that it hasn't gone the way you guys wanted it to. How do you fix it? Like I said a couple weeks ago, nothing changes if nothing changes.
The one thing that Peter Seidler's been very consistent on is that he has said, I want to win above anything else. And that's not always been the case in San Diego with professional sports teams. So in that, as long as that hasn't changed, That's a good place to start. That the goal is to go out and win.
Marco wants to know, he says, do we actually need to hear them say this sucks? My answer is yes. Mm-hmm. My answer is yes. My answer to that is I'd like to hear from the owner to say this is terrible. Peter was on our show and said that was a once-in-a-century collapse. Well, now here's another one. Maybe even worse than the last one, based on payroll, expectations, how far you got last year. I want to know it's going to be different this year. And I know you can't count on anything with sports. Eyewash me, man. Eyewash me to death. I need some eyewash. I needed it from the players. They haven't shown it. I need it from the leadership of this team. I mean, it's been a ghost town.
I can't say with certainty that if they ran it back next year with pretty much the same guys they had, they wouldn't do a ton better. But that is also a really tough
sell.
And a really tough argument to make.
But you say
it may be the right thing to do, but that is going to be a tough sell if that's what they've decided. That AJ and Bob and everyone that's in place is the right people, and we're not really going to make any changes. We're just going to assume things are going to be better next year without doing anything.
That's a tough.
It could be right, but that's a tough sell.
It's like I tell my kids, this is dinner. Eat it. This is your dinner. You're not in a diner. All right. I'm not a short order cook. This is the dinner we've made. You got to eat it. And we as Padre fans, you don't have a choice. You got to eat the team that they feed you. You have to. They're going to put it on your plate and say, here, see you opening day. And you got to get your fork and go, all right, hope this one stays down Because this year did not stay down. We've had bubble guts for 140 games. So I want to hear from somebody. I want some accountability. I want to hear from somebody. I want them to tell us, hey, man, we laughed at Ron Fowler years ago and he said heads were going to roll. I'm not even necessarily saying heads got to roll. Something's got to change. Something. Because I don't know how you continue to want the fan base. Leadership has vanished. The fans haven't. They're still here. They're still selling out the games and everything else and supporting the team. And it's just like, where did it go? Who's going to own this? Who's going to own this? Let's get this organization back on track. What's it going to take? That's the funny thing. I swear to God, I feel like if Peter came in here and sat down for an hour and said, look, next year, guys, may sting a little bit. It may sting. I think there are Padre fans out there that could deal with it. But, I'm not going to be throwing good money after bad anymore. I'm going to count on Jackson Merrill. I'm going to count on Erie Arts. I'm going to count Dylan Lesko.
I don't know that would sting. I mean, the Dodgers essentially did that this season.
And they're going to win 100 games. Honestly. I feel like if we just heard it, you better tell us now so we can prepare ourselves for it.
All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Paulie and I are going to talk to Jake Mintz from Cesspoo's Family Barbecue while Woods is dragged out by a tactical team that is amassed at the ground floor of the building to take him away from the Padres flagship station.
It's not that bad, and I feel like it's pretty accurate.
We'll be right back with more on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Hint Water. Delicious fruit-infused water with zero sugar or diet sweeteners. Hint is water with a touch of true fruit flavor. Available in stores across the U.S. or delivered to you at hintwater.com. All right, we haven't really talked about, since the Padres are no longer in the playoff chase, doesn't mean it's not a great playoff chase right now.
It's a phenomenal playoff chase.
We've got some phenomenal baseball being played in other places.
I'm excited to put my fan hat back on when the playoffs start. The last few weeks are going to be an absolute grind.
Our Mariners are playing some good baseball
Our
right
Marlins
now.
are playing some good
and
baseball.
And our Marlins are playing some good baseball. We will talk with Jake from Cespedes Family Barbecue right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. Still plenty of problem spots on our roads this morning, guys. Southbound side of the 805 near Telegraph Canyon, a crash blocking the 2 left lanes. Also northbound side of the 805 right around Plaza Boulevard. There's a stalled vehicle over the right shoulder. Up ahead, a crash cleared on the Mesa College off-ramp. Also going to find on the northbound side of the 5 right around Nobel off-ramp. Stalled vehicle partially in lanes. In the North County, some trouble spots. Northbound 15 before the 78. An accident involved a big rig that appears to be blocking the 2 right lanes. Accident clearing on the southbound 15 near Gopher Canyon, and a crash cleared out of middle lanes right around Poway Road. Traffic in San Diego may be stressful, so let Viejas Casino and Resort alleviate your anxiety. Take a dip in alluring relaxation. Rejuvenate in Willow Spa, or win that life-changing jackpot. Your unmatched staycation experience is just 25 minutes from downtown, Viejas Casino and Resort. I'm Kelly down with Ben Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a grand old Monday. Did I tell you when grand old last week?
Did you?
Yeah, had some brisket. It was delicious.
Oh, man.
Best Texas-style brisket this side of, Texas. And joining us right now on a grand old Monday from Cespedes Family Barbecue is our friend Jake Mintz on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Fan Hotline. Jake, good morning to you.
You boys going to learn to love again?
Yes, please. Please teach us how to love again, my friend. How are you, buddy?
I am good. I'm at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. I don't know if this is a place you guys are familiar with.
We are.
Not.
Yeah, we are.
We had a baseball team who played in an NLCS there last year, if I remember correctly.
I heard about that. I saw that on the internet, but someone told me I can't believe everything I read. So
seems unlikely at this point. It's probably a figment of our imagination, actually, but I was told that it did happen.
Yeah, why don't you guys mix in a water and we'll see if it's actually
So you're there for Braves Phillies. Now, the Braves have already clinched a playoff spot. The Phillies obviously are in good shape for a wild card as well. Any reason in particular you're at Citizens Bank Park?
Yeah, they're two good baseball teams
they are.
playing one another. It is honestly that simple. I don't get to see the Braves a lot as a New York City resident. They only come to town up there twice a year, so I try and get down to see them whenever they're in Philly. That's really why I'm here. But something that's super fascinating to me about the Braves, so they have a doubleheader today, right? They're playing 2 on Monday and then Tuesday and Wednesday. The Braves clinched a playoff spot yesterday at home against Pittsburgh, right? Ronald Acuna Jr. is in the lineup. He has played every single game this year. He has started in right field and led off every single game this year. If there was ever a day to sit him, doubleheader the day after you clinch, nope, batting first, right in the lineup. So for all these things that Ronald Acuna is, he is posting every single day.
Is that, in your opinion, that's MVP push, right? For Ronald Acuna, that's let's make sure.
Nothing to do with it.
You don't think so?
Nope, nothing to do with it. No, I think this is just the way the Braves do business.
Is that wise, though?
Is it wise? I mean, I would just do anything the Braves do all the time. Are you really going to second guess the best team in baseball? Like, I'll just copy and paste, man. Whatever. Is it wise or not? Who cares? Give me the output over the process. Whatever. I mean, they do this all the time. Like, Freddie Freeman used to do this. He'd play all 162 whenever he could. Dansby was similar whenever he was healthy enough to do it. And now they have Matt Olson has played every single game. And at first base, he is not DH once. Ronald has played every single game in the outfield and not DH once. And Austin Riley had played every game, but he got sick last week.
Yeah, that's right.
And so because of that, he had to miss some games. But he was on pace for to play in every single game too, right? And so it's like, But that's part of the reason why the Braves are this good. They have great players, yes, but they're great players play every day.
Yeah, and it was like a concerted effort. It's something I read an article recently. They were talking about how they take great pride in that. And I love that. And I would love that as a Braves fan, to know my guys actually care about being out there on the field every single day, giving it 100%,
Right.
even while you've already won 93 games and have a plus 238 run differential. My God, it is unbelievable.
And you make the point, you make a great point, like, is it wise? If I'm a Braves fan, am I going to second guess anything?
Until it happens, right? Until Acuna tweaks a hammy or something, you're like, you idiot, Snitker, right? It's
Right, but until then, just enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love Ronald Acuna. I saw the fireworks over the weekend. I didn't get what the whole hubbub was about. The guy threw inside at him. He stared at him. Then the guy started talking. And then so he talked back, and everyone's calling Ronald Acuna soft. And it's like, I don't know, man. The guy gets dotted quite a bit. And so, he literally just stared out at the mound and responded to a conversation. I love watching that kid play. I'm actually jealous you get to see him play in person tonight.
I'm very excited about it. He is just such a fascinating player. He is going to, again, he's playing all 162 2 years after his leg exploded.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can give him a lot of praise for how he plays and how productive he's been, but what do ball players respect more than anything else? Guys who play every day.
100%. 100%.
Talking to Jake Mintz from Cespedes Family Barbecue on a grand old Monday. And I know one thing that you and Jordan really enjoy, and I enjoy about baseball, is more than any other sport, you just get these quirky, weird things that happen with semi-regularity. Like in the Padres game yesterday, Kyle Tucker, after having no triples all year, had 2 in 1 inning.
It's nuts.
Against the Padres. But nothing could be weirder than what happened at Yankee Stadium yesterday, where the Yankees got no hit into the 11th inning and ended up winning a game 4-3. You just don't get that in other sports.
That's just a good game plan, That's how they figure it out.
Yeah, just wait them out. Wait them out. Rope-a-dope.
That game was awesome, right? Because whenever we're billed, two great pitchers facing off, going toe-to-toe, sometimes it just falls flat.
It does. Yeah.
And this was Garrett Cole Corbin Burns, and it was 0-0 in the extra innings, and one guy had a no-no. It's like, yep, this is what I paid for. Very rarely can you buy a ticket to a baseball game and get exactly what you wanted.
No, it's a really, really good point. Talking to our pal Jake Mintz from Cespedes Family Barbecue here on a grand old Monday on Ben and Woods. I know you guys, if you haven't already, will talk about George Kirby. And I saw it come out on Friday night. And I thought to myself, it was one of those little, ooh, don't say it. No, please don't say it. Please don't say it. Then I watched him get just dragged online, and I felt really bad for the kid. And he came out and apologized. I don't want to get, especially Jordan. What did Jordan think? That's his guy, George Kirby, and one of his M's.
So there's so many layers to this. I think it's a very interesting discussion topic. The first thing that's obvious is he should not have said it.
Right.
It is not worth the blowback and the response, right? And so if he could do it over again, he wouldn't have said it. Now, I don't necessarily think that changes the sentiment, to be honest with you.
Sure.
If I was the coach of a team, I want two things simultaneously. I want my players, my pitchers, to want to be out there every single inning, but also I want honesty. If my guy doesn't have it, him pushing past it is selfishness. And for George Kirby, let's just say he does this privately, right? If he goes to his manager and he says, hey, this was a weird start for me. I didn't have my stuff. I walked 2 guys and hit a batter for the first time in my entire life, and I just didn't think I was in the spot to get that guy out. Next time there's a spot like that, maybe come to the mound and let's talk about it in the moment, right? If a guy said that to a manager, that's totally fine. That happens all the time. And so because of that, I have no real issue with the sentiment that Kirby was trying to convey. It was just how he went about doing it.
Sure.
And part of the reason that we got the blowback, right, is because this story is freaking fish food for old, grumpy, former players.
Yep.
To just quote tweet back in my day BS. And I think it almost says more about the insecurity of the people who are furious about this than it does what he actually said. Does that make sense?
No,
Yeah.
it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, and I said it too. And somebody actually called one of those players, Jeff Weaver, out. He said, "Bro, you did the same thing. It's right here in the paper. You asked out of a game. Well, it was different. It was a different circumstance. Well, I mean, you still asked out of a game. You didn't pitch till your ligaments were hanging. Like it just. I said it too. We all, in 40 years, as I sit on the front porch and tell my grandkids about my radio career, it's going to sound bigger than it actually was, Jake. Trust me. I mean, that's just how we do. And that you make a
Can
great
you imagine
point.
if we could ask out of this radio show, like, oh, it's 8:51.
I just don't have it.
We've given
I'm
it
out.
2 hours and 51 minutes.
I'm out.
We're
Adam,
done.
I'm
We need,
I'm cooked.
we should go.
I'm done.
No, we got to finish it. We got to do a complete game
By the
every
way,
single show.
I would ask out about 3 days a
Yes,
week.
you
I'd be like,
would.
I'm cashed.
I mean, if you want the best of woods, it's not going to happen at 9:17 in the morning every day.
It's 6 a.m. to 8:15, and I'm done.
But we got to go all the way through because
I'm
that's
out.
what our manager is asking of us. That's what we got to
Society
do.
is just jealous. Society is jealous that George Kirby has a job that he can ask out of.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Somebody said, "Hey, why are we busting this kid's balls? He's just trying to get out of work on Friday." And I went, "Oh my God, that's so good."
Who among us has never? And that's the other thing quickly about Kirby specifically.
Yeah.
This is not like a five and dive pitcher.
Right.
No offense to Blake Snell. Okay. But this is not like a guy who's just airing it out for 5 innings and getting out of there. He threw like 7 innings in a playoff game last year.
Sure did.
He has like the 15th, 18th most innings in the league. And it's like he's pitching every 5 starts and doing exactly what he's asked. And if he's just going to his boss and it's like, it's better for this team if you put someone else in a bizarre backwards way, I actually think that that's being a good teammate. Otherwise, it's selfishness for your own bravado. Like, do I want my guy out there, like, pushing past it? Yeah, sure, whatever.
Of course.
What is he going to do for 285 pitches? I don't know. I thought the response was a little bit overdone.
It's funny, though, because you hear this about players. We have one of those players here in Manny Machado, and Bob Melvin has told us before. We've heard it from pretty much everybody that's ever played with. You know, Manny, they all say about Manny, that dude will never tell you he's hurt. Never. He'll go do 6 hours of treatment, and they're like, "Are you sure you can go?" He's like, "I'm fine." Why? Why would you ask? Well, because you started treatment at 9 and it's 4, and you're still on the table. Like,
look, guys. I am a born and raised Baltimore Orioles fan who was born the day Cal Ripken tied Derek Jeter. Not Derek Jeter. The day he tied Lou Gehrig.
Yep.
It was the day I was born. Okay, that dude is my hero growing up. Do I believe that he probably would have been a slightly better player and that the Orioles would have been better if he had like taken a nap every once in a while?
yes, absolutely.
Yes, I do. And I don't think what he did was selfish. I think it was a different era and a different circumstance. What I'm saying is, in some ways, taking a day off is the right thing to do. I understand this is the opposite of what I was saying earlier about Ronald Acuna, right, and the Braves, but he's continued to perform. He's continued to do it. And if you're George Kirby and you're like, I don't have it, the best thing for the Mariners is for you to go to the pen, that's fine with me. I have no issue. I have an issue with him saying in public. That's the thing I have an issue.
That's it. Same. Exactly.
Because bringing all this sad attention on it.
Last thing, Jake, got about a minute left. We've been speculating all year about where Shohei Ohtani is going to go. How much stock do you put in the report over the weekend that Mike Trout could be traded? If he asked to be traded, the Angels are willing to trade him as well. Do you see that happening this offseason?
That's a complicated question. I think there is validity to it because the circumstances have changed now.
Yep.
Trout is a different player who is hurt too often. He is making a lot of money for a team that is going to be bad and understands that it is going to be bad. As long as that team employed Trout and Ohtani, there was no reason to trade either one of them, in my opinion. That is different. And so do I think Trout will ask for a trade? I have no idea, and neither does anybody else but Mike Trout. And so I think on that, we just have to wait and see. But if Trout went to that front offset, I'm done here, they have no choice but try and flip him.
Jake, have a cheesesteak for me. Enjoy 2 baseball games for the price of 2 today in Philadelphia, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Always an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, buddy.
That's Jake Mintz from Cespedes Family Barbecue on a Grand Old Monday on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet Find new roads. They always do the split doubleheaders now where you pay for a ticket, then you have to leave, and then you come back. Second game as well, and that's what they're doing in Philly today with a 10:05 start and then a 3:40 start this afternoon.
Pretty amazing. He was saying, just copy and paste what they do. Maybe Alex Anthopoulos can send over some boilerplate contracts to the Padres front office. Maybe we can start using those. 4
if you
years,
can sign Albies
14
deals to everybody. Go right ahead.
Exactly.
Go right ahead. I'm sure every GM would be more than willing to do that.
Know how they do it, man.
All right, we're going to come back. Paulie's got the Rindle reports. 11 hours of sedation for a tattoo. That's going to be included coming up next.
And Florida Man, he's back.
Florida Man is back again. Next on 97.3 The Fan. Thanks again to Jake Menz from Cespedes Family Barbecue. You know, that conversation got me thinking. What if they did run sports like baseball, like just a regular office? Like around here, every every few weeks they send out an email saying, hey, on Friday we're going to close a little early.
Yeah.
Give everyone a little treat, longer weekend. Sometimes when Monday's a holiday, they'll do like 1 o'clock, have all your business wrapped up. Like just randomly every third week or so. Hey, you know what? It's Friday. We're only going to play 6 innings today. Just let the players leave a little bit early. They've been working really hard. We want to give them some extra time off. So
call it the 7th.
6-inning game.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the starting pitcher is going to go, well, it doesn't mean a lot of good. I was probably only going to pitch 6 innings anyway. So I've got to do a full day work. All the bullpen guys in the afternoon, they get the day off where we still have to work, in the morning. I mean, in the first 6 innings. So, but they don't do that in baseball.
The combo with Jake sparked some interesting comments in the YouTube chat as well. And Eric, I agree with you. Eric says Manny Machado's pride has been a weakness of this team multiple times this year. And I a little bit. It's earn respect. You know how they earn respect? By being on the field. I mean, and you think about last year.
Don't forget about last year.
That's the thing. Is I said to him, I said, bro, I certainly respect that man. I talked to his wife, and I asked her, I'm like, how is he? And she said, he's effed, man. He's on the. It takes 4 to 6 hours to get his ankle ready to play, and he went out there and played every single game, man. When he wasn't on the IL,
and while he didn't have a great statistical,
he actually never went to the IL last year, did he? No.
And while he didn't have a great statistical month of June as he was playing through that injury, you can ask anybody on that team last year, and they said, without Tatis and before Soto had arrived, that Manny just being out there was critical for the Padres last season.
It was absolute lift.
Just him forcing himself out there was an absolute, motivator and a big part of the success of last year's team. So it's hard to come back and rip him and go, yeah, you got to shut it down. You got the elbow problems.
Man,
Who knows what else is going on?
Dude. We do. We hate guys that shut it down. We do. Let's be honest. If you're a sports fan, you hate guys that shut it down. You do.
Juan Soto got some criticism yesterday for grounded into a double play and didn't necessarily, kind of carry the bat a few steps and didn't make the best of effort to avoid getting doubled off. But, he's still in the lineup, and the other guys are not. Is that a capital offense in September when your team is out of it? That you're not necessarily.
What is a capital offense anymore in the game of baseball?
I don't
know. Honestly, it doesn't bother me right now at all. It really doesn't. I mean, that's another guy that's played every single game, I think, but one.
Yeah.
And I think in that game he DH'd. So guys are out there, being out there or something. And, you do.
Yeah, if it's a tie game and you're a game out of a playoff spot,
right.
You absolutely, every inch, every possible base runner is critical.
I've always been on.
Right now?
I've always been on the side of these guys know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. That's just kind of how I've always rolled. I'm not going to change that now at all. But it sucks. I mean, it sucks. It sucked for the entire season. It's weird. Like usually there's pockets of a season that suck. This entire season has sucked.
You kind of get a little pick and choose. I mean, when they're at home next week in front of the fans and it's sold out, I'd like to see, as many of the regulars in there giving as much as they can.
But why, though? At this point, Manny, if Manny's got an elbow.
If they're going to play in game, if they're shut down, they're shut down. But if they're going to play, I'd like to see, those games saved for the home fans and, save your best efforts. Maybe, for the Dodgers, you don't want them to embarrass themselves against the Dodgers. Try to win some games. But when they play the A's this weekend, I could care less if they sit everybody, for a road game against the A's in front of 1,200 people at the Coliseum. I would be disappointed if they're all in the lineup all weekend for that series.
Honestly, and there's a handful of guys on the team, Ben. And if Manny's got this elbow, you just saw what happened to the kid in New York, Jason Dominguez. He's got a torn UCL. He had some pain in his elbow, I guess, on Wednesday. And he said, my elbow's barking a little bit. And by Sunday, torn UCL out 9 months, right? So why would you risk him swinging the bat? And Kevin Acee reported there are some swings he takes that hurt his elbow. There's no reason, man. I want Manny Machado opening day 2024 because we have to flush this year at some point. There is no reason, as much as it'd be great to go and see him one last time next week, no reason to risk it at all. None. You have to be prudent about this. You have to. Manny needs to be shut down.
And if there is a procedure that needs to or can be done, get it done soon.
Get it done
sooner rather
soon.
than later to have more time to get healthy for next season.
That's one of those things that drives fans to crazy. It's like, yeah, he tore his rotator cuff, and yeah, he's got surgery in February. I'm like, bro, the spring training starts in 2 weeks. What are you doing? Like, what were you doing the entire offseason? Well, I was getting it looked at, had some other options, and
you're bringing me back to Fernando wrist conversations from last year.
100%, man, 100%. So there's no good reason that you could give me that I'm going to buy. I'm not buying anything. Manny's close to getting.
And you buy everything.
30 I buy and I overpay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but man, let's be smart. Let's be smart about this going forward. The wins and losses from here on out mean nothing. So.
Speaking of smart, it's always smart to include Florida Man in the Reindl Report. Let's get to it.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right.
You guys see our Bless the Mood pal roaming the
yeah.
sidelines?
Oh, yeah. He made my
How could you
highlights
not?
last night.
Guy still looks great, doesn't he? Matt McConaughey still looks fantastic. Do you think it bothers them?
Are you ready to bless the mood?
He was also at the Djokovic match yesterday.
He's a busy boy.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
Do you think that it bothers Texas that he's there?
No way.
No?
No.
Not even a little bit.
He's their
helps
most
recruiting. That's
He's their
good.
number 1 ambassador.
There's not one coach. It's like, oh, God. Or are they just everyone to a man and woman?
Oh, I'm sure
just
there
buys
are
in?
some eye roll moments, but overall, you'd rather have him there than not there.
It's pretty cool, though.
Is USC over Will Ferrell?
Does he
he
stalk the sidelines?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Does he?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what you're going for. I mean, the Colorado games are now essentially it's like
had
the
Clan there.
It's like the Oscars and the Grammys and the Emmys all rolled up into one, surrounding the football field.
So somebody go, how long before Drake's on the sideline?
Oh, that's the kiss of death for Colorado.
You got Michael Irvin in a Colorado shirt. You've got Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang Clan was there, for the love of God.
And they did a video. They're like, we're here for Dion, for Prime.
It's so good, man. So good.
Amazing. All right, well, that gets us into the first story this morning, the AP Top 25. Heading into week 3.
Give it to me.
No changes at the top. Georgia number 1, Michigan number 2. Florida State, they jumped up to number 3, and Texas, coming off of their victory against Alabama, they moved up 6 spots. They are 4th. To round up the top 4, USC, Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, Notre Dame, and Alabama are the top 10. Colorado moved up 7 spots. They are number 18 right now.
Poll is this, the AP?
The AP Top 25.
Okay.
The Pac-12 has never had more than 6 teams in the top 25 before. They got 8.
It's insane.
Teams in the top 25. And while they're no longer undefeated, I think Arizona and I think one other school did lose finally. I mean, all their top 25 teams. Utah beat Baylor. Oregon beat Texas Tech. Oregon State over UC Davis. Washington State upset Wisconsin. Colorado beat Nebraska. And now UCLA is in the top 25 after their
Do you want to walk back
Diego
your
State.
Clemson take from last week yet?
When they won 66-7, I think, didn't they? Or 66-13 or something
Did
like
they?
that. Yeah.
They're out of the top 25 now.
Yes.
And the team that you said would have a worse season than
Duke won again. They
won
played
again.
Lafayette.
They won
Yeah.
42-7
Against Lafayette.
Yeah. Do you know who Clemson played?
Yeah, Colorado.
College of
Coastal
Charleston.
Yeah. They did win like
66-17.
66-17. They got off to a slow start, but they did turn it on.
All right.
No, I still think Clemson will finish ahead of Duke.
Okay.
At the end of the season.
Duke looks pretty good.
They did look good in the first game. I don't know what Lafayette does. Not much. No, nor does College of Charleston.
Right.
Clemson's still in the coaches poll.
Yeah.
Charleston
Coaches
Southern,
poll.
by the way.
No, not College of Charleston.
Charleston Southern.
Charleston
Citadel
Southern.
is also in Charleston.
What is the name of their mascot? The
College of Charleston?
No, Charleston Southern.
They are the Pekingese.
They are the Buccaneers, my
Close.
friend. Very close.
All right, next up, Dak Prescott. Headline here in the New York Post. He was sedated 11 hours to get a massive tattoo all across his leg. He said people will think it's crazy. Then would you say open heart surgery doesn't last as long as...
Yes, you can be sedated for heart transplant surgery.
Transplant.
They take your heart out of your chest, put a new one in, sew
Clean
it
it
all
up.
up together, and you are out for less time than Dak Prescott was to get a tattoo on his leg.
Yeah, it's like a leg sleeve
It's
tattoo. And it took, nearly half a day. He says people are going to think it's crazy, and it is crazy. I get that, but I'm crazy. That's my point, is I am. I know I am. I'm not afraid of nothing. And it's a tattoo that...
My wife, all nothing of her, has now complete sleeves on both of her arms, and I'm proud to say, was not sedated for a second of any of those. She's very tough. She's very tough.
I asked this question. Why would you stand when you could sit? Why would you go to the dentist if my dentist wanted to knock me out every time I did a teeth clean and I had to have my wife come and drive me home? I would do it every time.
All right, here's the answer. Sedation is not without some risk.
Of course.
When you go under.
I would be. The thing is, the pain is probably great on your leg.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what would get me? The boredom. Sitting anyway. If you can knock me out and get it done, do it.
Just
do it.
Go to sleep.
Just wake up. All right, we'll put some cream on there. Some Aquaphor.
Woods wants to be sedated for the next kindergarten parent get together.
Please.
We already knew that.
Please.
We knew that.
Please, dude.
So the tattoo, I'll throw it up on the YouTube stream here. It says it's paying tribute to his brother who died, his mother who died, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Kobe Bryant, Dallas, his hometown in Louisiana, and more.
I will admit, I do not have the fortitude to get a tattoo. I'd be too scared. I feel like, though, if you have a tattoo, someone looks at that and goes, man, that guy is tough. He sat through that entire tattoo. And when I find out later, no, he was sedated for the entire 11-hour procedure. It loses, that's what makes a tattoo partly so impressive. Like, you sat through that whole thing to get that tattoo.
It doesn't.
When I find out that you just took a nap the entire time and were out, it loses something for me.
So
am I the only one that thinks
well,
this
a
way?
lot of people called
it feels
him
like cheating.
Well, a lot of people
feels like cheating.
A lot of people called him soft for it. I don't think you can call an NFL quarterback soft. For one, I honestly think it for me at least, I'd be like, do it so I don't have to sit here and like play on my phone for 11 freaking hours. I don't have to come back for 9 sessions.
Yeah, that's what most people do. They
just
split
knock
it up into multiple sessions.
Just knock it out. I mean, nobody says
don't get the tattoo.
Nobody
if
says
if you can't
do
sit
the time,
through the pain. If you can't do the time, if you can't do the boredom, don't get the tattoo.
I either like the tattoo or I don't. I've never seen somebody with tattoos on their body.
Yeah,
and go,
this guy right here.
How much pain did that? Cause?
Work smarter, not harder. 100%.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm totally on board.
You like baseball? You're a Padres fan. Do you stand the whole game? Why? You're soft if you sit. There are people that think that way. I don't really have a problem with it, but I think. I think that if you can, that's thinking 2 steps ahead, in my opinion. You're playing chess, in my opinion.
Diesel says his wife had both kids without epidural.
Women are ridiculously. My
They're
wife
tough.
just
They're
cut open. Yeah. It's crazy. Dawson said, "Can you imagine holding your leg exactly still for 11 hours to get that amount of detail?" No,
absolutely not.
I like this move. I like this move a lot.
Team Dak.
I'm Team Dak on this too.
I think it's cheating.
You don't even have a tattoo.
I know, because I don't deserve one. I'm not tough enough to get one or sit still.
What if
or
they put you to sleep?
Have the needle.
What if they put you to sleep?
I wouldn't want that. I'd be embarrassed. I'd be embarrassed if I had to be put down for a tattoo. That'd be embarrassing.
I think that's weird.
I think that's weird too. All right, when you get your colonoscopy, tell them no anesthesia. I want to feel everything. Everything.
I don't wear my colonoscopy out on my calves when I'm.
Yeah, but it's
out.
important to your health. I want to feel it, man. I want to feel it. Every bit of it, every inch of that thing. I want to feel it.
How many inches is it?
I don't know. You know why? Because I was sedated. I was talking to my buddy Kevin at the soccer game on Saturday. He goes, "You got one, didn't you?" I go, "Yeah, I got one." He goes, "Did it hurt?" I go,
I don't know.
Bro, I woke up, I went straight to Jersey Mike's, and then I went right to bed. I said it was literally one of the best days I can remember. No kids bothered me. My wife didn't bother me. I said it was phenomenal. I would get a colonoscopy tomorrow if I had to. He goes, he said, "Did it hurt after?" I go, "I didn't feel a thing. It was fantastic."
Yeah.
Now, if you told me you got
Butcher.
open heart surgery with no sedation, there you go.
Anthony the Butcher. If I can get knocked out to do my next tattoo, I'm doing it in a heartbeat.
Bro, 100%. 100%.
I don't think that changes the equation at all.
I don't either. It's like you said, it's expression of art.
All right. Finally, saw this headline over the weekend. Said thank you. Be saving that for Monday. Headline reads: Knife-wielding Florida man arrested in homemade hamster wheel.
Oh, I saw this
This
thing.
was not the first time
He
this
tried
has
to go
happened.
across the ocean in it.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
He's tried a couple of times now. 51-year-old out of Florida was apprehended by authorities. Says while paddling a makeshift hamster wheel in the ocean, he was off the coast of South Carolina, and he was attempting to go all the way across the Atlantic. And again, this is the
Why did he have a
second time-
knife?
How long was it going to take
Florida
him to
man.
get
The
there?
charge. What's the charge? Don't people do this stuff all the time?
Don't you need a knife to, like, cut
Fight
fish
off
or
thing?
something?
Yes. To spear and slice fish?
So it says, yeah, he told officers he was headed for London. He had a 30 centimeter knife on him, and he was
Okay.
threatening to do harm to himself when the Coast Guard showed up. And they called it a manifestly unsafe voyage.
All right.
Okay, I'll
So
give you that.
It's definitely a
they
safety
didn't want him
factor.
they didn't want him to get stopped. He was afraid they were going to stop him from his journey.
I think so.
He was like, back
It's
off or
like-
I'm going to do damage
Yeah,
to
you just,
myself.
like, push it forward like a hamster wheel, and it goes. Nobody was hurt, luckily. And they said the Coast Guard seeks to federally prosecute him through the Attorney General's office. Penalties will depend on jurisdictional authority because once you're in the water, it's kind of a gray area on jurisdiction.
International waters.
Can a man
Heave to and prepare to be boarded on your
For-
hamster wheel.
For Florida man, this arrest marks the fourth time authorities have intervened on one of his transatlantic journeys in a hamster wheel.
Maybe you just let him go, guys. save yourselves the trouble. It's called natural.
You know what?
It's called
Sounds good. We'll make some phone calls. We'll pick you up on the other side.
It's called natural selection. If the guy's bound and determined to do it, and that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
All right.
You're mad now. You'd be begging for us in
12 hours.
27
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
when you're somewhere halfway between the United States and England.
Yeah. No food, no water, just your knife. I mean, but
Might have
again,
some snacks with him.
4 times.
And a volleyball named Wilson.
Yeah,
I mean,
waste of time.
How many more times does it become a waste of resources?
Yes, well,
and tax
it was
dollars?
after the first one is when it became a waste of resources and time and trouble. So, Godspeed, my friend. Hope you get it done.
God bless Florida, man.
Thank you, Paulie.
All right, you've got a choice tonight. Padres, Dodgers,
Okay.
Monday Night Football.
I don't have a choice. You got like 2.5
That's
hours.
true. You can do both. We'll talk about both when we come back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Got some good news out there for those like myself who have Spectrum cable.
I've got Cox.
I know you've got Cox.
Love Cox.
I love Cox, too. Cox is expensive.
But this morning, the standoff has ended with Disney. They have reached an agreement, which means should be getting your ESPN and ESPN2 and various channels, Disney Channel, back on your channel lineup.
Good.
Which was a problem the last couple of weeks at our household. A lot of angry. In fact, it wasn't so much me. It was more my wife and kids that were mad at Spectrum for not delivering those channels. But they should be coming back here. The standoff has ended, and a deal has been reached, which means you can watch Monday Night Football tonight.
Yes.
Just in time, probably no coincidence, deadline spur action to watch Aaron Rodgers in his debut tonight on ESPN against the Buffalo Bills.
What was that stat you had about the NFL?
Road teams are 10-5. If the Bills win tonight, it'll be the best record, 11-5, since they went to 32 teams and had 16 games on the opening weekend. So, yeah, usually home teams are always a good bet in the NFL, but this weekend they have not been. For a 2-3 margin, the road teams have emerged victorious in some of the best performances, by the way. Everyone talking about the Cowboys last night. That was nuts.
I mean, that was one of the most boring Sunday night football games.
I mean, they absolutely slaughtered a division rival. Their hyped up New York fans had nothing to cheer for.
Literally nothing.
The New York Giants Twitter account, they tweeted like 30 minutes before the game. Didn't send one tweet during the entire game.
How would you?
Nothing. They had nothing to tweet about. But I thought the most impressive performance
if you're
actually.
in that game, it's just pouring rain.
Yeah.
You're cold. You're like, what are we doing?
What am I doing here?
I don't know how much you can trust the Giants or not. You can usually trust the Pittsburgh Steelers to be at least decent. They are almost never a bad team. So
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season.
So for the 49ers to go in and do what they did yesterday, 30-7, and it looked like as good of an all-around performance. I mean, they didn't need anything special from Brock Purdy. They simply were just the dominant team against what is usually a pretty good football franchise in the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially at home on opening day, and they could do nothing against the 49ers.
I'm going to miss the NFL threesome this week. I think we do that on what day? Thursday?
Correct.
So I'll miss it this week, but I mean, I got to put the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. What in the world was that? That was the first. You wake up, you're fired up for the NFL. You're like, all right, man, Joe Burrow just got paid, big fat contract, and there's been a lot of trash talk, Battle for Ohio, the whole bit. I'm watching this game going, oh, my God, what in the world is happening? Joe Burrow threw for 82 yards. Is that right? 82 yards in that game?
82 yards.
What does Overreaction Monday sports radio sound like this morning
in Cincinnati?
Well, it's downplay Monday.
Downplay Monday.
It's just game one.
That's what he said, which is hard.
Not a big deal.
It's true.
Eagles won on the road against the Patriots. That one got a little closer than some people expected, but
definitely one closer than I expected.
Jordan Love's got to be feeling pretty good today.
No question.
Packers go into Chicago, beat the Bears 38-20, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first game of the post-Aaron Rodgers era. I don't know if it'll last, but for a day, he can silence some critics and feel pretty good about himself. So you had a lot of, the Dolphins obviously going into L.A., beating the Chargers, the Rams going into Seattle, beating the Seahawks.
Baker Mayfield beating the
Bucs
Vikings,
over
man.
a 13-win Viking team from last season, and Baker getting it done against Minnesota.
Bananas, man. Saints-Titans, one of the weirdest. Like, I'm watching Derek Carr play. I'm watching Ryan Tannehill.
I was keeping track of all of the people, players, coaches that have moved around over the offseason. I'm like, whoa,
if you
had
told
no idea.
If you told me, I don't know why. If you just told me, one team in the NFL will kick 5 field goals and score 15 points in a close game, I'm always going to say the Titans.
It's always the Titans.
It's always the Titans.
Yeah,
somehow they're not going to find the end zone, but it's going to be close at the end. I don't know why it's always the Titans.
I couldn't help.
But it's always the Titans.
I couldn't help thinking about the Chargers yesterday when I was watching the game and watching how it ended and thinking about, had they never left and it was our team and we're big Herbert guys and we love Derwin James. He comes on the show and we love Joey Bosa and we have our questions about the head coach and the coordinators. I couldn't help but think, holy crap, man. What if that was our Monday coming in here going, I can't believe
wonder
this.
if at some point
Padres, the
even if they
Dodgers,
were still
the Padres,
here,
the Chargers, this is horrible.
I wonder if at some point I would have had to turn on them, even if they were still here.
Oh, I would hope so.
They're impossible to cheer for. They're just impossible to cheer for.
What if the Padres go out and have the exact same season next year? I mean, you're like, I can't do this. I mean, this is excruciating. The payroll is up, and the record is mediocre. It's very.
I mean,
much...
I'll take the every other that we've seen with the Padres.
Oh, yeah.
2020 playoffs, 2022.
I mean,
playoffs.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
I mean, they could be the Giants on even years of this decade
I ain't happy
team.
about
But
it.
Yeah, I'll take it. But I'm not happy about it. Exactly.
All right, let's.
Russell Wilson loses in Sean Payton's debut. That was another big one.
Well, I mean, if tonight's Monday Night Football game is anything like yesterday's game in that same stadium, by the time the Padres game begins, you'll be begging for another option.
Yeah,
if it's that lopsided like yesterday's game was. So
I feel like every time I start to believe in the Bills and like, all right, I'm going to put a little money on the Bills, they absolutely break my heart. And it's so I don't really know what to do. The line's only 2 tonight, and I think it's the Bills are -2 on the road, but I don't know, man.
The other one I was watching yesterday was the Patriots game, and Tom Brady was welcomed back to Gillette and honored before the game. And Tony Romo, they showed him sitting in the box with Bob Kraft, and Tony Romo goes, "You could make the case that he's still the best quarterback in the building."
No question about it.
Jalen Hurts and Mac Jones.
This is just me, and you know how bad I am at gambling. I feel like Aaron Rodgers has had a lot of out-of-sync first games, even with the Packers when he barely competes in the preseason. Would anyone be shocked if he looks out of sync in his first game with the Jets and the Bills just roll tonight? I wouldn't. I'd go with Buffalo. Lay of the 2.
All right, I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah, I figured you'd do that. Fading Ben already. Week 1. All right.
One.
We have the Padres tonight for you here on 97.3 The Fan, and our man, Sammy Levitt, is going to be on the scene in Los Angeles.
I did not know this.
I did not know that either. He's going to join us. Don't forget what you were going to ask him.
Oh, I will. Believe you me.
Coming up
Happens
next,
to me all the time.
With Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by South Norte Tequila Cocktails. Real tequila, real juice. Savor South Norte Premium Tequila Cocktails. Sip on a classic margarita, an authentic Paloma. Pop the top on the Mexican Mule, or savor the Matador. Available at Stater Brothers, Ralph's, and more. All right, Padres and Dodgers. Not quite what we expected for this 3-game series in September.
God, I had this
circled.
I had this one circled on the old calendar. Said, man, this could be a really, really, really serious.
Let's send Sammy Levitt up there to be, on hand for the biggest series of the season, likely in the NL West. Figured both of these teams would be battling it out for a division title right now. Not exactly.
Nope. Other one. That's all right. That's fine.
All right, let's check traffic, and we will still check in with Sammy Levitt right after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Kia of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Tannick.
Still a few problems out here, guys. One is this crash, the clearing stage on southbound 805 near Telegraph Canyon. Northbound 805, an accident on the Governor Drive off-ramp. Also, westbound side of the 8 near the 805. Collision blocking the fast lane. Tow truck is on scene assisting with that. And some debris reported on westbound 52 just past Mast Boulevard, mostly in the 2 left lanes. And Kelly Danik with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, let's go out to our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Joining us right now from the City of Angels is Padres pre- and post-game show host Sam Levitt. Sam, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Doing well. I wanted to paint a picture, the picture that I have in my mind's eye. So, been a long season. You've been there, Sammy. You post. Sammy posts every day. Sammy's always there, answering your calls. You're grinding through it like the rest of us. Disappointing. Another embarrassing loss. You lost by 10 runs. It's a Sunday. You probably just want to get home and watch football like the rest of us and just relax. And you're grinding through it. The calls come in. And then your phone dings. And you look down at your phone and you get a text from one Ben Higgins. And you think to yourself, oh, Benjamin checking in on a Sunday.
Nice to hear from Ben.
Nice to hear from Ben. And he is only texting you, Sam, to correct you on something. Please walk me through the whole thing.
Well, remind me, Ben, was this yesterday?
Yeah,
or
this was
Saturday?
yesterday. It was actually in the pregame show yesterday.
Perfect.
Pregame show, sorry.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Great.
pregame.
Let me walk you through this. So yes, it's been a long season, as we all know. I'm on duty, pretty much every day, as we all know. And yes, getting ready for the morning games can be difficult, right? It's early. Now, I was on at 10 a.m. yesterday, which is not the earliest I've been on this season, not even close. I mean, I think I've been on before 9 a.m. or at least right at 9 a.m. At times this season. So, but look,
Well, actually, it was Saturday. It was Saturday.
Oh, it was
pregame.
Saturday.
It was
Sorry.
Saturday
Okay.
pregame.
Okay,
But yeah.
sorry. Okay, it was Saturday. Okay, so that's a little bit different. It was later, but no, I mean, I try to have all my bases covered. I was doing the injury report, and I'll admit I missed the news on G-Man Choi that apparently, the tests were negative and he was back in the El Paso lineup. So yes, as I got the information wrong on the injury report about, I don't know,
Well, it's
2
a
minutes
weird
later,
story.
It is weird.
I mean, it was
It is
reported
weird.
that he had a
Yeah.
broken foot. Even Bob Melvin said it. Yeah, his foot's broken, or his ankle, and then they said, "Oh no, it's his foot."
It was Liz
And
Frank, right?
It was a Liz Frank injury. He's out for the season, and then the next day
Psych.
he's back in the El Paso lineup. And I did see in the notes, the minor league notes, that he had gone like 1 for 4 or something. I go, wait. He's out for the season. What is he doing in there? And they said, "Oh, we get MRI. They got it wrong. He didn't have a broken Liz Frank or anything." And I could understand, Sammy. I totally understood why you would miss that. It was a tiny note in a weird spot, but I didn't want him to keep going every day on the injury report and G-Man Choi's out for the season, because it would be easy to then never see that again. That you just assume he was out until all of a sudden they brought him back up to the Padres.
You pulled an
actually.
Well, actually, Sammy. But that's a good one. I was in fear I was fearful that it was something like, oh, actually, Sammy, you mispronounced that, or we don't call that here.
I really was just trying to help Sammy out.
Sammy, we
really
don't say Cali here, okay? Like people
But
that say
I don't
Cali.
understand why do you even know about this? This was pretty. I mean, I was fine with the text. It was a worthwhile text because I literally had the information wrong, so I actually appreciated being texted about it. And
we were talking about you coming on, and I had mentioned to
it?
Woods. Oh, I texted Sammy over the weekend,
It's
and
like
he asked
5
why.
minutes into the show this morning.
And I said, well, actually, I had to.
Why did Ben have to bring it up again?
Well, Woods said, "Don't tell me what it was. I want to bring it up with Sammy later." So I never mentioned what it was that I had texted you. So he was very curious for the last 3 hours as to why I texted you with a correction. But now that he hears it, he realizes that I was just trying to help Sammy.
Doing him a solid.
I was trying to do Sammy a solid.
Okay,
good.
Yeah, it was fine. It would have been worse, yes, if it was something like a pronunciation or hey, we don't do that.
We don't do business like that here.
Woods
Sam.
was really hoping to make fun of
Yes,
me.
I was.
But in honesty, I had a good heart, intentions, and was just trying to help Sammy out, Woods. So there.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing you'll know, I mean, Ben, you can take great comfort, and some listener will let him know. To point out, hey, no, he's actually in the lineup. We make mistakes all the time.
That's true. They will tweet him publicly, quickly.
Yes.
With corrections all the time, because that does happen on our show, too.
So you're up in, we're talking to Sammy Levitt here on Ben and Woods this morning. So you're actually up in L.A. today, huh?
Where in L.A.?
Yeah, where?
Muscle Beach in Venice?
Getting
a workout in?
Right. Right now I'm in West Hollywood. I grabbed a cup of coffee. Was doing some work here at a coffee shop this morning. Gonna grab something to eat, and then probably around noon, 1 p.m., actually a little bit later than that, probably more about like 1:30, 2 o'clock, head on over to Dodger Stadium. So
go to the Getty instead. Have a nice day. Don't ruin it with baseball day.
I recommend going down to Grauman's Chinese Theater.
That'd be fun.
Poking around down there, Sam.
You can compare your hand sizes to the celebrities.
You can see DJ Khaled's hand prints down there if you want. I did that actually. Well, listen.
I should go to Rams practice. So I guess they'd be off today, but do that. Have a report from there. Give you some football.
That'd be fine.
Monday.
That'd be fine because I know that I know this. Listen. Dodgers are clearly they won the West, right? The West.
No, but the Padres are.
Padres are out. Yeah,
they're still the Giants and the Diamondbacks. They're going to
win the West. This is kind of a nightmare scenario. If I'm being honest, Sammy, kind of a nightmare scenario.
Yeah. Look, I mean, there's no secret, no way around it. If somebody would have told you in spring training, looking at the schedule and looking at this series, you would have said, "Wow, that's going to be a big one, right?"
Yep.
And that's going to be a battle for a National League West division crown, and it just has not turned out that way at all. And look, I thought yesterday was, in ways sort of indicative of where this season is at, right? The fact that you have a Sunday in September against the defending world champions, and albeit for different reasons, but Fernando Tatis Jr. getting a day off, and he deserves it. He's played every day, and we've heard Bob Melvin in the last week talk about, that really wasn't the plan for Fernando entering the season, coming off the surgeries, but they've had to do it. And then obviously Manny dealing with the elbow issue, getting the day off yesterday, which is going to be something to watch here, I think, over the course of the next week or so to see, what happens with Manny. And, the fact that he's only DHing and all of that, I mean, it does make you wonder, how much longer he may play here in 2023 before, maybe they shut it down for the rest of the season. We'll see what happens over the next week or so. But between those two guys not being in the lineup, right, on a Sunday in September in Houston, and then you just looked around, the eighth inning yesterday, bottom half of the eighth, and you see Brett Sullivan playing third, and you see Matthew Batten playing short, and Eggy Rosario playing second, and Jose Azocar in left. And, obviously part of that was just what the game was yesterday. But another part of it is, wow, this is, this whole thing has strayed really far from where you thought it would be on September 10th, in a game against the Houston Astros, where you looked at the schedule at the start of the year. And I think all of us thought, hey, you know what, that'll be a great series. Two teams that should be really, really good, competing for division titles. And for one of them has just not worked out that way. So, look, I've said it a number of times on my shows, every baseball season is precious. Every day during the season is precious. You'll miss it come November, December, and we'll be gearing up for spring training and all of it. But, right now there's, not a ton to be pulling from and taking away from. And, right now it's just about, playing these games and taking whatever you can away from them right now.
Woodsy said earlier, I think it was off the air, but Matt Batten has been, obviously he's not an all-star, he's not an MVP in the making, but we've kind of liked what we've seen from Matt Batten.
Did I say that?
Didn't you say that?
I don't think that.
Was it Paulie who said that? Paulie said that off the air? Yeah, just
like what I've seen.
Just,
last few weeks.
For a Padres homegrown produced player that they've promoted, seen some interesting things. I know you had more experience. We talked a little bit about that with Matt in the minors getting up here, but your kind of further impressions of Matt Batten and whether you think there's a spot for him somewhere with the Padres here in the future if they're still, he's not necessarily an everyday starter on a, like a World Series team, but he might be in a backup piece somewhere. You don't think so?
Well, I'll tell you this. Any player that wore an Amarillo Sod Poodles uniform with the Padres major leagues, I'm a fan of. I am supporting 110%. So for that reason, I am a Matthew Batten fan, although he was with the Sod Poodles in 2019 very, very briefly at the start of the year before he went up to AAA. But that's beside the point. Look, I'm with you. I think Matthew's done a lot of really good things. I think he's somebody who's playing his tail off because he's somebody who's had to battle for everything. This was, I believe it was a 32nd round pick from Quinnipiac University in Connecticut and was in the minor leagues a long time. And I think is somebody who's getting his first opportunity ever to play somewhat consistently at the major league level. And guys, he's swung it pretty well. He's obviously versatile with the positions he can play. And I think bigger picture, whether it's Matthew Batten or whether it's, somebody like Geggy Rosario or, Jose Azocar. Any of these young guys and young pitchers like Pedro Avila, who we'll see tonight, that are really getting opportunities here. Look, it's going to be increasingly important, whether it's these guys, whether it's guys like Jackson Merrill, whether it's guys like, Graham Pauley, Nathan Mattarella. I was talking to somebody about Pauley, about a week ago, and they're super, super high on him. In particular, what he could be.
So are we.
Whether it's the guys that are here right now getting some opportunities that you didn't expect to get opportunities, or those bigger time prospects that are coming. The bottom line is this organization needs these guys to come up, be given an opportunity to really play and contribute. Guys, you look, and I was doing this morning a little bit. You look at every team in the postseason picture right now, if the season ended today, and each and every one of them have significant players that are homegrown, that were drafted, signed, and developed, that are contributing to their seasons, to their lineup every day, to their pitching staffs every day. It's really important. You look at the opening day roster for the Padres, and again, we all understand this was a team that was constructed by spending, by trades. Okay, it's a different situation. But on the opening day roster for the Padres this season, there were 3 drafted/signed and developed players on the roster, and I'm not putting Fernando Tatis Jr. in this category. Luis Campusano, Ryan Weathers, and Steven Wilson. Now, Campusano, I think, is going to be a big part of this team next year in all likelihood. Steven Wilson, too, who's, been good for the most part, since making his debut last season. But, you look around, even the teams that spend a lot of money, and there are a number of them in the postseason picture, the other part of it that they have right now is young guys that come up through the system that are really, really contributing. Some more than others. Some teams, they have the stars like the Braves, the Acuñas and the Albies and all those guys. But, it's a little bit of a different situation for each. But the bottom line is that's a common thread. So, again, back to the original Matthew Batten point, it's important even guys like that who you could, get to spring training next year and say, you know what? He's going to battle for a roster spot. And he's somebody who's going to play his tail off every day because he's battling for his major league life, right? And, somebody that can contribute and maybe be a spot where you don't have to fill that bench spot in free agency. Long answer here, but next year is fascinating for this team because
Always.
you still have mostly the core, right? The core is going to be pretty much the core. There are going to be some new faces, the Snell and Hader parts of it being free agents, and obviously there are going to be different faces. But, some of these prospects, the big-time ones, Merrill maybe has a shot to make this team out of spring training. We'll see. But the guys like Paulie and some of the others, they're they just got to Double-A. So, even those guys are probably a little bit of a ways away, and then it's about, okay, you should have a team next year that has really high expectations. How does the rest of this roster on opening day get filled out? And I do think that somebody like a Matthew Batten, back to your original point, can be the answer in some of those scenarios and should be if he shows he can play and shows what he can do. So, look, that's been a silver lining of all this, is watching guys like that get a real opportunity to sort of fight for their major league standing in positions, and no, I don't think it's crazy to look at some of those guys and say, hey, you know what, you can contribute in some way, shape, or form next year.
Sammy, appreciate it. Enjoy your week in Los Angeles. We'll see you when you get back, but take care and be safe.
All right, guys, thanks.
There he is,
Appreciate
Sam Levitt on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. And, Padres need homegrown, especially position players, because the Nelson Cruzes, Matt Carpenters, Adam Engels of the world didn't work out very well this season. All right, that's it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. For executive producer and imaging director Paul Reindl, for Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Coach John Quintero coming up next, right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Have a great rest of your day.